More viewers already. More viewers already. More viewers already.
Like every king who lost the crown, and all those years are history now. Can you hear the drumming? There's a revolution coming. I've been waiting all my life. Run down what I've always been chasing. Block out every fear I've been facing. I'm thinking too how wake me up. The time is now. Can you hear the drumming? There's a revolution
And so to get ready for the Iran war that's coming, by the way, Facebook and Twitter coordinated and just purged over 800 political accounts and pages, including huge pages with millions of likes that challenge corporate media narratives, including anti-war alternative media and libertarian pages. So it's happening. It's coming. I had to check my page right away. Like, oh, fuck, my page still there?
I don't know, Jimmy. Maybe those pages, pages go down, they come up, they go down. Maybe a page doesn't come back up, you know what I mean? Facebook pages trip and fall all the time, you know what I mean? Walking home, they get mugged. Bad stuff happens, Jimmy.
I'd hate to see a little program get deplatformed.
You know what I mean?
Oh, also, the top lobbyist for Facebook hosted Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation
That
party.
is correct. That is correct. Come on, let's be honest though. The only way you can see this coming is if you were, alive and awake.
Right. Why are you standing for... Every time that we talk about this, Jimmy, people are like, why are you standing for fascists like Alex Jones? It's like, do you not see that it's not just a free speech issue and a private corporation issue? They are working with think tanks stacked with spooks and cops and government agencies.
The Atlantic Council.
Yeah.
The Atlantic Council. It's filled with people like Henry Kissinger. That's
Absolutely.
And Michael Chertoff and Bill Kristol. That's who it's filled with. And first they came for Alex Jones and I was silent because tribalism disconnected my critical thinking skills.
Yeah. And the Weekly Standard is now the fact checker
You're
on
right.
Facebook. Imagine. Bill Kristol.
There you go. Here he also says among the pages targeted, Facebook's massive purge are popular pages that documented police brutality. When you got to make sure you got to take down the people who are the watchdogs of the cops, right? Because the cops are going to start cracking some fucking heads again because there's going to be another economic downturn. We're overdue for it again, so there will be another Occupy. There'll be anti-war, and the cops are going to have to crack heads extra hard. And so they got to shut down those pages that document cop head cracking. And so he says citizen journalism on police and brutality is now called fake news. Yes, it is. And to justify its mass purge of alternative media accounts, Facebook used the bogus excuse that it is supposedly cracking down on clickbait. Yeah, and I don't understand what this is. He said, yet BuzzFeed is still curiously allowed to post its listicle number 8,000. I don't know what that is. Anybody know what that is? His list? I don't know what that is. I don't read BuzzFeed, so I don't know what the fuck. But it's clickbait? Yeah. So here, it's how New York Times reported it. Americans are using the Russian playbook to spread disinformation and Facebook plans to call. So now, you don't even have to be Russian. You're an American, you're acting Russian. Yeah. You're acting, you saw a little... do you want Medicare for all? That sounds Russian. You're a little bit against fossil fuel extraction. What the fuck are you, Ruski? What's the matter?
Everything is going according to plan. This is exactly what we are trying to do when we're undermining your election. We are going to get clickbait removed. By that we mean links that we don't like.
And what is this idea that Facebook and they need to protect us from ideas that might ruin our brain? I can handle it. Ever since I was a kid, you walk by the checkout stand. There's a National Enquirer and the
Fat Boy.
And I never was like, wow, there really are helium monsters. I was like, it's the World News Daily. No one fucking believes that shit. It's funny, right?
Well, look, they got to. I mean, let's not forget it was Facebook Live that showed, and I forget the guy's name who bled out because of a cop shot him.
That's right.
Oh, right.
So they got to shut that shit down, man. Like they own all the media, so that the internet's the last spot.
And here, what's ironic is that Alex Jones' conspiracy theory has been vindicated by the very organizations that denied it. So it actually is a conspiracy. Twitter, Facebook, the government, dark organizations doing this all in secret, colluding. That's the word they use, because you can't say conspiracy if you're pushing it. You have to say colluding. So they're colluding together, which is what is exactly happening. And that's kind of ironic. And it's going... And here's NBC. They're saying, hey, forget Facebook. YouTube videos are quietly radicalizing millions of young people, and the company is profiting. Do you see where this is fucking going? Do you see?
Radicalizing.
Radicalizing.
You all have been radicalized.
Hey, forget Facebook. Let's go after the company that's our direct competition. That's what that is, right? So NBC's their average age watching their news is 70 years old or something like that. Now, no joke. And shows like ours are what they call in the demo. So the 25 to 54, whatever, I don't fucking know. But they're younger than the other people, and that's why they're coming at, and that's why they're trying to scare advertisers away from YouTube. And now they're trying to justify censorship. Their people are being radicalized by YouTube. What the fuck? It's those ideas have always been out there. I grew up with Nazis in Chicago. They marched in Marquette Park every summer. These ideas are not new. They've been around. It's okay. We don't need jagoff Silicon Valley billionaires to protect me from an idea. Okay, that's the whole point of the United States. These extremists on YouTube, they talk about things that aren't real. Like runaway military budgets and shit like that.
Yeah, and I've always had this censorship weapon. It's just off. I turn it off. I don't watch it. I block someone. I don't need the fucking...
You do what?
Yeah.
How does that work? Off?
Yeah.
Graham, that cat video was chanting for revolution.
Oh, it was. I mean, I don't understand. I think Alex Jones, let's say he's crazy shit. I don't watch it. I don't follow him.
Right,
I don't click on anything.
Right, why is Alex Jones more dangerous than Fox News?
Or
CNN.
Or how about CNN that tells you Medicare for all costs more? What the fuck? You tell me what's fake news and what's not. So here's a guy in England, and he was talking to a media person in England, because it's the same shit over there. You see what they do to Jeremy Corbyn. You see what's happening. He gets it worse than Bernie does over here. Well, he's a little bit more ballsy anyway, but so maybe that's why. But here we go. Here's what this guy has to say.
What do you want to happen now? What do you think?
What do I want to happen? I want it to be a revolution in this country. I say fuck the media, fuck the mainstream. You don't deserve to be there.
That's right. It's about time for a real revolution, by the way. And it's coming. Whether you want it or not, it's coming.
I mean, we should be campaigning not to government, but to the BBC, who acts as mouthpieces for this corrupt government. I mean, people need a revolution in this country, nothing short of that. And if this was any other country, there'd have done been a revolution. We've seen how you, the mainstream media, have responded and reacted. For 2 years, you've hounded, demonized Jeremy Corbyn. And you said he was unelectable. He can't be, there's no possibility of this man being elected. And you created that narrative that people actually believed your bullshit for a while. But what this election has done...
It's fun when it's right in their face like that. And it's weird that it's John Oliver. But anyway.
Shown that people are immune. They're wearing bulletproof vests to you and the other billionaire sort of media owners and Rupert Murdoch and all those other motherfuckers. They're immune to that shit there. And that is the vote of confidence, not in terms of Jeremy Corbyn, but it dismisses me. But it also stands up to you as the mainstream media. I say you personally, but I'm identifying you as the mainstream media. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying identify as the mainstream media. You are not.
There's a little bit more. I think he has a little bit more.
You are a bunch of motherfuckers.
But now the news guy makes nice and he shakes his hand. Watch this. Watch.
I like you too. I like you too. I like you fried, boiled,
There you go. Please make sure you're subscribed. Even if you think you are subscribed, there's a good chance you're not. So please check. It only takes a...
Did this renowned mathematician buy his car at drive time using the smartest online tools?
Where's the blame? You know what it is, as I see it? It's greed. We seem to be losing our way to a certain extent in America. And it's not about the politics. I know everybody says politics and terrorism, the troubling economy. We've lost our way. And we've lost our way because we seem to be losing the one thing that always made our country great. Ethics, morals, principles, and integrity. Needed, maybe more now than ever.
With the stroke of a pen, Trump's trying to undo everything we've worked so hard for. But as indigenous people, our existence is our resistance. We protect Mother Earth and the water because it's who we are and we have no other choice. I'm facing 7 years in prison, yet I remain dedicated to peace and prayer. Pray with us.
One family. If we don't stand, who will? On earth. The wind comes in four corners, four directions, four colors. And death rides on four horsemen. A black snake with some black tanks. How much money do these companies need to make? They could drop their product, but they wanna save a buck. Already extracted billions, when is enough enough? I used to be in the oil fields, getting paid, but I quit, cause oil water I can't drink. Look down and see Kamimi Ladai in the mud. I looked up and told myself that enough's enough. Money does not own my soul, living comfortable. It's not in my plans, my hands in the sand. Some things worth more than gold. Some things they can't be sold. Some things can't be replaced. She's your mother, the fresh water is her veins. What is going on? Have we all lost our minds? Every human needs clean water to survive.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be called. Martin County Sheriff's Department.
Hi. I need to report an assault.
Okay, where did it occur at?
Standing Rock. They're innocent, unarmed people being attacked with water in militia-style police, firing at point-blank range with high-powered mace on unarmed people. Who protects the people?
Ma'am, yeah, if there's police there, then it has
The police are the ones attacking innocent, unarmed people. So what do we do to stop the police literally hitting people at point-blank range in the face? People can lose eyes. People are going to get hypothermia. People could die. We have elders here. We have children here. We have all ages here. Nobody is armed except for the police. Who protects the people from the police?
Well, I guess if you want to put it up the chain of command, the next person to talk to would be the governor's office.
Love is the strongest, this path is the hardest. But if we were strong enough to do it, we wouldn't see it. Our prayers would not be needed. This movement's very needed. Indigenous wisdom unheeded and sacred things depleted. I'm Mexicano, Malacota, and I'm white too. I'm mixed with everyone, so part of me's just like you. Every group of human beings shares the same stars. And if the earth is not your mother, are you from Mars? Since 1492, 500 years and counting. Surviving the genocide they call colonizing my turtle island. What is a fossil fuel? Continued destruction, nothing new. Live in a system, taking our children, shipping their feelings till nothing's true. I had that money in front of me, but I left it. Cause oil money's dirty if my mother gets disrespected. We're disconnected, these times are hectic and feeling heavy. But still we love all living beings and suffer for the many. We are peaceful people, that's why we walk with prayer. And if that wasn't true, we wouldn't be standing here. We're peaceful people who walk with prayer. Turtle Island, have no fear. Despite what they show in the media, we're kind people, hold your ground. Change is coming now.
The Democratic Party, firefighters, teachers, healthcare advocates, middle-class taxpayers.
All men are created equal. Well, it's not true. Because some are smart, some aren't.
You have to have the right the right genes. I have a certain gene. I'm a gene believer.
Do we believe in the gene thing? I mean, I do.
I have great genes and all that stuff, which I'm a believer in.
When you connect two racehorses, you usually end up with a fast horse.
Secretariat doesn't produce slow horses.
Well, I think I was born with a drive for success.
I was born with a certain intellect.
The fact is, you have to be born and blessed with something up here.
God helped me by giving me a certain brain.
It's this. It's not my salesmanship.
It's what?
This. You know what that is? It's the brain power.
I have Ivy League education, smart guy.
I have like a very, very high aptitude.
I'm pretty good at English. I always did very nicely in English. I mean, like, I'm a smart person.
You're born a fighter, and I've seen a lot of people, they want to fight, but they can't.
Some people cannot genetically handle pressure. I always said winning is somewhat maybe innate. Maybe it's just something you have. You know, you have the winning gene. Frankly, it'd be wonderful if you could develop it, but I'm not so sure you can.
Your doctor released your medical report. His laboratory tests were astonishingly excellent. His physical strength and stamina are extraordinary.
I mean, I've never seen the kind of Herculean physical effort on a candidate.
Your stamina is pretty amazing.
How do you have the stamina to keep going?
This guy's got more stamina than anybody I've ever met.
He seems to be fine, and all of his staff says he can handle it, and they don't see him sleep. You know, it's amazing the stamina he has.
So given his diet and exercise, how does he pull that off?
He's got perfect genes.
Your testosterone is 441, which is actually, it's good.
He's got perfect genes. He has incredible energy, okay, and he's unbelievably healthy.
I feel as good today as I did when I was 30.
I said, Doc, I want to tell you, I'll be the healthiest president ever. And he said, oh, I think I agree. And I think he probably took my words and he put them down.
Well, I'm going to show you a thing of beauty. Let me show you some beautiful, look at that. Are these flabby arms?
You know, I'm proud to have that German blood. There's no question about it. Great stuff.
We will make America great again. We will make America great again.
I certainly don't incite violence.
Knock the crap out of him.
Like to punch him in the face. I don't condone violence, and I don't talk about violence.
I would have done well, but I would have been boom, boom, boom. I'll beat that.
I don't know if I'll do the fighting myself or if other people will.
Maybe he should have been roughed up because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of him, would you? Seriously.
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it.
In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, you know, they would not do it again so easily. We become weak. We become weak.
And you know what? The audience swung back. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. The audience hit back. And that's what we need a little bit more of now.
Part of the problem and part of the reason it takes so long is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore, right?
I don't know if I would have done well, but I would have been out there fighting, folks. I don't know if I would have done well, but I would have been boom, boom, boom. I'll beat that.
Do you plan on paying for the legal fees of this older gentleman in North Carolina who sucker punched the protester?
From what I understand, he was sticking a certain finger up in the air. And that is a terrible thing to do in front of somebody that, frankly, wants to see America made great again.
It's possible you could help him with legal fees if this man needs it.
I've actually instructed my people to look into it, yes.
I recently watched a group of protesters, most of them young, denouncing President Donald.
I'd like to buy the world a home, furnish it with love, grow apple trees, honey bees, and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a coat and keep it company. That's the song I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world.
Your cell phone, your wallet, your time, your ideas. No barcode, no party, no ID, no beers. Your bank card, your license, your thoughts, your fears. No SIM card, no disco, no photo, not here. Your blood, your sweat, your passions, your regrets, your profits, your time off, your fashions, your sex, your pills, your grass, your tits, your ass, your laughs, your balls. We want your soul. Your house, your home, your life, your cash, your house, your phone. We want your soul. Your house, your home, your life, your cash, your house, your phone. We want your soul. Tell us your habits, your fads, your fears. Give us your address, your shoe size, your years, your digits, your plans, your number, your eyes, your schedule, your desktop, your details, your life. Show us your children, your photos, your home. Here, take credit, take insurance, take a loan. Get a job, get a pension, get a haircut, get a suit. Playing the lottery, play football, play the field, snort some toot. We'll show you dream, we'll show you food, we'll buy you dreams, throw away your blue. We'll sell you crap, we'll charge you debt. Wanna buy big guns, we'll front the cash. Your soul, your house, your home. We want your soul. Your house, your home. We want your soul. Your house, your home. We want your soul. Your house, your home. We want your thoughts, your emotions, your love, your dreams, your checkbook, your essence, your sweat, your screams, your security, your sobriety, your innocence, your society, yourself, your place, your distance, your space.
Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again. Here, watch this. Shut up. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you.
A beefy quarter pounder has been making me hungry all day. We grill 'em up with melted cheese, then I've gotta send 'em away. I can sell 'em, I can make 'em up McDonald's style. Thinking about that great taste is driving me wild. Pour me a Coke to take home, this quarter pounder's my own. It's a good time for the great taste.
Bring your work home again, Tom?
Of McDonald's.
We want your soul.
Here's boy bands, here's Mackers, here's Britney, here's Cola, here's pizza, here's TV, here's some rock and some roller. Watch commercials, more commercials. Watch Jerry, not Oprah. Buy a better life from the comfort of your sofa. Here's popcorn, here's magazines, here's milkshake, here's blue jeans, here's padded bars, here's armpit wax, here's football shirt, here's baseball cap, here's live talk shows, here's video game, here's Cola Light, here's 10 morning, here's filter tips, here's college minutes, here's all night long, here's plastic hits.
We want your soul. We want your soul. We want your soul. We want your soul.
Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again. Here's American gladiators. Watch this. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Here's American gladiators. Here is 56 channels of it. Watch these pituitary retards bang their fucking skulls together and congratulate you on living in the land of freedom. Here you go, America. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you.
No dropouts, no gays, no lefties, no loonies, no opinions, no way. No thinkers, no teachers, no facts, no freaks, no skaters, no tweakers, no truth, no fun. Here's popcorn, here's magazines, here's milkshake, here's blue jeans, here's padded bars, here's armpit wax, here's football shirt, here's baseball caps. Here's very, 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 very long infomercials.
You know, it happened right here 20 years ago.
Right here, Mom?
Mm-hmm. You just can't imagine what it felt like.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honeybees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to change the world. Can't stop it. The feeling you get from a Coca-Cola classic. Can't beat the feeling. Change the world to say. Can't make it from a Coca-Cola classic. I'd like to buy the world a Coca-Cola. Can't beat the real thing. Can't top it. No, you can't stop it. Every song the whole world singing. Can't beat the feeling. Can't beat the real thing.
When you're ready to rise up, you'll rise up.
All the power you need is in your hands. Now look around you. Our financial systems have been hijacked by a generation of thieves. While you're working harder and harder for less and less, the game is being rigged against you. They're turning all of us into virtual slaves. Looters, at the heart of our financial system, are price-fixing our most precious resources: food, water, energy, gold. Even the value of money itself is being siphoned away by high-level crooks in a giant mushrooming conspiracy of unstoppable corruption. They're robbing billions of people of trillions of dollars a year, folks. There is no need for austerity measures. There is no need for financial suffering. No need for poverty. There is no scarcity. We are simply the victims of a robbery of unimaginable proportions. We have been fed a lie so vast it oppresses all of humanity. The truth is, there is more than enough to go around. 60 years ago, productivity was increasing so fast, they predicted by today, entire families could live comfortably on the income of just one provider, working only 10 hours a week. They wondered what we'd do with all of our spare time. What happened to that dream? Turns out they were right. What took a full work week back then can be done in just 10 hours today. We have technologies that multiply our efforts 1,000-fold and connect us in ways they never imagined. We are now 100 times richer than in that great heyday of the 50s. We are heirs to a great bounty of prosperity, $70 trillion in the U.S. alone, over $200,000 for every man, woman, and child. The only reason we don't experience this wealth is because it's being siphoned away by a corrupt criminal class. They loot through giant corporations, raising prices, lowering wages, stealing the fruits of our productivity. Where once whole families prospered with just one provider, now both parents work, delivering 8 times the productivity but struggling to make ends meet. They control the media using hot-button social issues to divide us, brother against brother, so we fight each other while they loot our sacred institutions. They make us fear too big to fail banks collapsing, but if they did, we'd suddenly recover the 8 times our income that's being siphoned away every single day. Don't give yourselves to these crooks who abuse you and enslave you, who steal your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel. Let us burn these leeches off our backs. Let us replace their corrupt systems with better systems that benefit everyone. Let us reclaim the fruits of our productivity. Let us share our prosperity. We can do this now. We are the creators, and when we come together, we have the power to create whatever future we want.
In 1840, when Alexis de Tocqueville came here, he said, "America is a nation of clubs." He was coming from a nation of homos called France. But outside of that weak province, the West was a nation of clubs. The Knights of Columbus, the Know-Nothings, the Shriners. We always had these clubs, and Gloria Steinem decreed them sexist in the 80s, and that was the end of clubs. So I thought, why don't we bring this back? Why don't we have a men's club? No parameters, just dudes. You have to be born male, by the way. And believe it or not, that has actually come up. I've had bull dykes come and go, "Can I be part of this?" Sorry, no. Why not? We're never going to use this. And I go, yeah. Just go to the Proud Boys girls and you'll be the most masculine one there as opposed to the most feminine man that we have in our club. Anyway, I gave away the name. But I started a men's club called the Proud Boys, and we have one caveat, and that is you have to be a Western chauvinist. Now, liberals are lazy, so they hear the word chauvinist and they assume male chauvinist, and that's why I use that word, because they're too lazy to look it up, and it just means a nationalist, a patriot. And you have to think the West is the best. And it exploded. There's thousands of members all over the world. There's Proud Boys Africa. There's Proud Boys Japan. We've got about 5 different divisions in Australia. And I just made it up. Like we're called Proud Boys because I went to one of my kids' music recitals and some ponce got up there, and while everyone's playing the piano and the violin and doing stuff they tried, he gets up and he goes, "Proud of your boy, I'll make you proud of your boy." It's some song from Aladdin. And I was looking around for the dad because I thought there's no way this dad is proud of his boy. And of course, he was the child of a single mom. Duh. His mother told him, "Yeah, sing a song. That's a talent." And there was no dad to say, "No, you're not. Play the piano, for Christ's sakes." So we made up these rules. There's, just like the Knights of Columbus, there's first degree, second degree, third degree. What's the second degree, Gav? And I went, you have to get beaten up by 5 men. For how long? Until you can name 5 breakfast cereals. Done. Third degree. What's the third degree, Gav? You have to quit porn and get a tattoo. Done. It's massive.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. The permit for this event has been revoked. Return to the sidewalk and obey all laws and traffic control devices. This is the Portland Police Bureau. Officers have observed assaults, criminal behavior, projectile, and illegal firearms. The march has been revoked. All people must return to the sidewalk. People who intend to engage in physical threat or emergency circumstances require may be subject to the use of force and weapons.
Japanese!
see who's attacking. Did Ted Wheeler tell you guys to stand there?
Officers have observed assaults, criminal behavior, and projectiles being fired. This event has been interpreted to be a riot. The area is not restricted access area pursuant to Portland Nazis. In a revolutionary response. In large groups, waving the red and black flag. Red and black flag. Red and black flag.
We are anonymous. How is it that it seems no one remembers just a few short years ago?
These are the steps that we must take.
There are plenty of steps we can take
right now to start getting our economy back on track.
To help create jobs and grow this economy.
If we are going to deal with our dependence on foreign oil,
if we're going to end our dependence on foreign oil,
we'll recruit an army of new teachers.
I want to recruit an army of new teachers.
make college affordable.
Make college more affordable and repair our crumbling roads and bridges. We've got crumbling roads and bridges. Tonight, more Americans are out of work. We still got friends out there and family who are looking for work. At a time when so many people are struggling to keep up. A moment when so many people are still struggling. If you are willing to work with me,
If you're willing to work even harder in this election,
then I promise you.
then I promise you change will come.
Shall we play a game?
If you see something, say something. Report suspicious activity to local authorities.
If you're not breaking the law, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you shouldn't worry what the government is doing.
Terrorism, 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 Al-Qaeda, Mohammed, terrorism, terrorism, war in Iraq, war in Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden.
It's not like my government would ever do it to me. But guess what? You're wrong.
Protest is now illegal in the U.S. Move along, citizen.
And yet we just sit there and calmly feel and say, oh, they're making us safe.
I don't even know whose side I'm on.
Okay, this is straight out of 1984. We're living in a police state.
I never had a choice of what happened to me.
The city is being turned into a police state. Militarized riot gear, LRAD machines, and drones overhead.
Corporations have more power than the government.
Our government now works for the banks.
America, the greatest losses to our freedom have come not from someone attacking us, but from the government ignoring the Constitution and the majority letting them get away with it.
Yeah, we torture. Yeah, we spy on them. Yeah, we do all of this, but it's no big deal. Get used to it. You know what? We're not going to get used to it.
Police have opened fire on the crowd.
We're all in serious, serious danger.
Millions of dollars spent on new police gear, trucks ready to function as rolling barricades.
What you have here is, this is the wars coming home.
If anybody doesn't believe this government is capable of doing these kinds of things, you're out of your mind.
Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again.
Well, you know, America's a strange country. All you need to keep them pacified is give them a dozen donuts and a gun. They don't seem to have the capacity, the intellectual capacity, to think of their own self-interest in any other way than the next 5 minutes.
It's time to wake up.
Wake up, America!
Wake up, America.
The proles, if only they could somehow become conscious of their own strength, would have no need to conspire. They needed only to rise up and shake themselves like a horse shaking off flies. If they chose, they could blow the party to pieces tomorrow morning. Surely sooner or later it must occur to them to do it. Until they become conscious, they will never rebel, and until after they have rebelled, they cannot become conscious.
The time is coming when the window for us to restore the control of our government to ourselves will close, and we had damn well better act before then.
You want to know why the American public is fit? They're fit because they're not seeing their Congress do the work that they're sent to do.
We need to demand more of our elected officials.
Damn bills that come out here all the damn time. Come out here in the last second.
and I gotta try to figure out how to vote for my people!
Bathed in the excesses of power, they passed a bill that by their own admission, they hadn't read.
This is PR politics.
Unanimous consent that we bring up the bill to extend the tax cut for 160 million Americans. As you walk off the floor, Mr. Speaker, you're walking out.
If you want to stand up on the floor of the Senate and defend the Wall Street banks like Bank of America and the credit card companies, be my guest. I would rather stand with the consumers and retailers who've been taken to the cleaners for years and years.
Why aren't we questioning the underlying premise of the need for a bailout with taxpayers' money? Why aren't we passing new laws to stop the speculation which triggered this? Why aren't we directly helping homeowners with their debt burden? Why aren't we helping American families faced with bankruptcy? Why aren't we reducing debts for Main Street instead of Wall Street? Is this the United States Congress or the board of directors of Goldman Sachs? When I fuck up, who bails me out? No one.
There is no one here to object. This is why the American people have thrown you out of power. You see, you're right. It is within your sole discretion to recognize a member. But you chose to exercise the power of the gavel, Madam Speaker. Therein lies the problem. If he's not here to pull off this political stunt, then we should just proceed and this bill should be withdrawn. It is the right thing to do by the American people to stop these tactics.
Enough!
And make no mistake about it, this is not about national security.
But my point about this is a war without end. I'm afraid of giving up the right to trial by jury and hoping that someday they will declare an end to this war and they'll give back the right to trial by jury.
Mr. Speaker, a nationwide revolt is developing over the body scanners at the airports, and it should.
And we also know there are individuals who are making money off this. They say, trust us. Trust us, the people who brought us Katrina, to be competent in face of a disaster. Trust us, the people who brought us warrantless wiretapping and other excesses eroding our civil liberties. Trust us.
Many of us were told in private conversations that if we voted against this bill on Monday, that the sky would fall, the market would drop 2,000 or 3,000 points the first day, another couple thousand the second day, and a few members were even told that there would be martial law in America if we voted no.
We're not trying to scare kids. This president's foreign policy is what's scaring the kids of this country. Well, it's the same people that told us Saddam Hussein had something to do with 9/11. Same people that told us Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Same people that told us we were going to be able to use the oil for reconstruction money. Same people that told us that we'd be greeted as liberators, not occupiers. Same people, same president that told us the Taliban is gone. Same president that told us that Poland is our ally 2 days before they pull out. Same president that tells us Iraq is going just great. Same president that tells us the economy is going just great. Same people that told us the tax cut was going to create millions of jobs. Same people that told us that the Medicare program only cost $400 billion when it really cost $540 billion. So please forgive us for not believing what you're saying. Please forgive the students of this country for not believing what you're saying. Not one thing about this war that has been told to the American people or that has been told to these college students has been true. Not one thing. Bremer says we need more troops. The Pentagon says we need more troops. And this president can't get them from the international community. There's only one option left. Let's be honest with the American people.
Fascism, by definition, is when corporations team up with organized religion and control the government. Do I have to say anything more? Wouldn't you say that we're on the brink if we're not there?
We're witnessing a slow and steady takeover of our true freedoms. And now we see the government taking over banks. We see the government taking over car companies, insurance. We're being told what cars we can drive, how much we can make. And now they want to take control of our health care.
It's one more attempt for them to put everything that we do day and night under the control of the federal government.
Are you willing to sacrifice your freedom for liberty? Well, I say that they're taking away our free will. The American people are being forced to do something they don't want to do.
But there really is a difference between us, and it's basically this. We don't think the government should be in control of all of this. We want people to be in control. And that, at the end of the day, is the big difference.
What they are trying to do is create an America very unlike the America that has existed for centuries. The thing associated with America, freedom, is precisely what must be destroyed if this is to be turned into a fundamentally different country to suit Obama's vision of the country and of himself.
I think he's going way beyond his constitutional powers assigned to the executive branch, which is, by definition, an imperial precedent.
Once again, total power in one person's hands, not the American way.
He's centralizing power inside the Beltway, taking power and decision-making from families, from individuals, and as a consequence, what he's doing is building an unchecked executive.
Now, I hate to point fingers at anybody, but the present administration probably has a lot to do with that.
But you know who's responsible for it? We are. Personal responsibility.
Where is the outrage to come from? From you.
It turns out you're the knight in shining armor.
First, you've got to get mad.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. It is time for us to take our country back.
The real problem is that the American people have been too submissive. We have accepted the notion that we should be treated like cattle. Make us safe, make us secure, put us in the barbed wire. It's time for the American people to stand up and shrug off the shackles of our government.
And the way I see it, they're not going to quit doing it until they bring this country to its knees. So I think we should all rise up and we should stop this administration from what they're doing because they're destroying this country.
We, the people, have got to get control back of our country.
The American people will revolt.
Our government sucks.
So what do you say? Maybe we should all just stop paying our taxes and revolt. Because this is bull.
When our forefathers wrote the Constitution with the right to bear arms, it was not about hunting and fishing. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is there so that we, the public, if our government gets out of control, we have the ability to rise up and change it. Now, many people have said to me, well, wait a minute. How could we, the citizens, ever stand up to the U.S. government and their entire military might? Well, wait a minute. I got the answer. We threw everything we had at Vietnam, and they were nothing but a bunch of farmers with a few AK-47s, and they withstood it all. Don't ever allow anyone to tell you that it can't be done. It can be done.
To the government of the United States, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. It is the constitutional right of the people to reform this government as we see fit. Over the past year, we have shown you what we are capable of. You can continue to resist us or you can allow us to exercise our rights. We truly hope you choose the latter so that we can peacefully return this country to the principles it was founded upon and restore power to the people. To the citizens of the United States, it is our goal to reform this current government with your help. We do not want anarchy. We do not want chaos. What we want is to restore power to the people. Governments are supposed to derive their powers from the consent of the governed. Over the next few months, we will be releasing a series of videos detailing our reformation plans. Idea Vote will give every American a voice. We ask from you to use your voices. This new world is not one that we wish to shape ourselves. This new world will be that of the people, and the choice is yours to make in what direction we will go.
If your words can inspire them to cheer, to go to the polls and vote, to speak out for you, don't you think your words in some way can inspire them to violence and incite violence as well? Don't you understand that you can't say in one tone, I'm getting people to vote for me, but my words have meaning, but then on the other hand, my words don't have meaning when it comes to another particular issue?
Yeah, well, I certainly don't incite violence, and I don't condone violence.
Knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fee.
And introduced Trump. Trump spoke for about 30 or so minutes when a protester did interrupt.
Yeah, some people, some rough guys like we have right in here, and they started punching back. It was a beautiful thing. I mean, they started punching back. In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, and they would not do it again. So I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Get them out of here, please. Get them out. Get them out. Are you from Mexico? Are you from Mexico? Huh? Are you from Mexico? All right, yeah, get them out. Try not to hurt them. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it. Get that guy out of here. Get him out. Get that guy out of here. Oh, this is amazing. So much fun. I love it. I love it. We having a good time? USA. USA.
Big tech companies are waging war against free speech.
Donald Trump's campaign is surrounded by controversy this morning after a weekend of chaos and violence. Noisy protests followed Trump along the campaign trail. Demonstrators clashed with police and Trump supporters outside his events.
Another Trump rally is just starting in North Carolina, while John Kasich is campaigning right now in his home state of Ohio. Those states will have important primary elections tomorrow, along with Florida, Illinois, and Missouri. The latest CBS News Battleground Tracker shows Trump with a big lead in winner-take-all Florida. Trump and Kasich are tied in Ohio, which is also winner-take-all. Major Garrett is at this morning's Kasich rally in Youngstown, Ohio. Major, good morning.
Good morning. John Kasich will have 2012 Republican nominee Mitt Romney by his side today. No endorsement, but two events later today to drive up the Kasich vote in hopes of depriving Donald Trump of a victory here. Kasich's crowds will be smaller, his message more optimistic and upbeat, a stark contrast to Donald Trump, who endured and may in the future more and more stormy days on the campaign trail.
We had some, I would say, they were, let's be nice, protesters, okay?
Late Sunday night, Donald Trump summarized a weekend of nasty clashes on the campaign trail.
All over the world, they're talking about what took place, and they're talking about us, and they're talking about how well we handled it.
Marco Rubio blamed Trump and his rhetoric for the stormiest days of the 2016 campaign.
What we see instead is a new brand of leadership, which is no leadership at all, which says to people, yes, get angry, get even angrier. We are now a nation where people hate each other.
It all started Friday when large student-run protests forced Trump to cancel a nighttime rally in Chicago.
Tonight's rally will be postponed.
Moments later, fights broke out between protesters and Trump supporters. Clashes spilled onto the streets. Police arrested 5. One of those arrested, CBS News journalist Sopan Deb, who identified himself as press before being hauled away.
It was tense right from the start. I've never seen anything like I saw last night.
In Ohio on Saturday, Trump defended his supporters, implying they were provoked.
These were people that want to make America great again. That's all it is. It's very simple.
During Trump's speech, a man jumped over the security barrier and rushed the stage before being tackled by Secret Service. Hours later in Kansas City, Trump said he was ready for a fight.
I would have been out there fighting, folks. I don't know if I would have done well, but I would have been boom, boom, boom. I'll beat that.
Roughly 500 anti-Trump protesters clashed with police on horseback. who later used pepper spray to disperse the crowds. On Face the Nation Sunday, Trump dismissed activists opposed to his campaign.
I don't think they have a great future. I think they're disruptors. I think they are not in love with our country.
Trump also said he may pay legal bills for a man charged with assault after punching a protester at a rally in North Carolina last week.
I don't condone violence, but the kid shouldn't have had the finger up in the air either, okay, if that's what he did. So I'm going to take a look at the tape, and I'll let you know.
Trump canceled a rally in Florida today to campaign here in Ohio, where he's locked in a dead heat with Kasich for this winner-take-all state's 66.
During a rally in St. Louis, Donald Trump lamented that nobody wants to hurt each other anymore. Look, he said it right here.
Nobody wants to hurt each other anymore, right? And they're being politically correct the way they take them out. So it takes a little bit longer. And honestly, protesters, they realize it. They realize that there are no consequences to protesting anymore.
This is the core of Donald Trump's ideology. The protesters who interrupted his rally, the political correctness that kept police from cracking their skulls, and the media that always seems to take their side, this is what is keeping America from being great again. We used to be strong and tough, and we didn't take shit from anybody. Now we're weak, and we're sensitive, and we're politically correct, and we take shit from everybody.
I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Trump's core question to his supporters, to the country, is how are we going to beat China if we can't even shut down a protester? How are we going to crush ISIS if we're so afraid of hurting people's feelings? Political ideology is something different. It is something terrifying. And that's where Trump and Trump's campaign has gone. This is Donald Trump's promise to his supporters. You protect him, you do what's necessary, and he'll protect you. He'll pay your legal fees. He'll back your lie. That's his promise. You protect him and he'll protect you. He'll use his money, his power, his anything. If they fix this problem, he'll make sure they don't pay any consequences for it.
So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees. I promise. I promise.
But months later, Donald Trump made good on that promise. At a rally of his, an African-American protester was being taken out of the building. And while he was being taken out, and you can see it on the video, he was sucker punched by a Trump supporter.
Yes, he deserved it. The next time we see him, we might have to kill him.
Completely cold-blooded assault. That Trump supporter has been arrested. He's been charged with the crime. And Donald Trump was asked on one of the Sunday shows, would he pay for this man's legal fees? And here's what he said.
It's possible you could help him with legal fees if this man needs it.
I've actually instructed my people to look into it.
The great mistake the media makes with Donald Trump is that he doesn't have an ideology, that he's just some kind of reality star or celebrity or carnival barker. But he does have an ideology. He is a nationalist. At the core of any appeal like that is a very simple equation. The us must defeat the them. That's it. That is the core of nationalism. And there's a reason nationalistic appeals like that easily lend themselves to violence. What Trump supporters hear at his rallies is that America used to be great and its greatness has been taken away. And they're told why. They're told who took it away. Those protesters, the Chinese, the immigrants, the Muslims. They're told that the reason these losers, these outsiders are being able to drag America down is that we are letting them. We are letting these protesters stand up and interrupt our rallies. We are letting the Mexican government give us this terrible deal. And they're told what they need to do to stop it too. That they need to be tough again. They need to believe again. They need to not be so politically correct. And that if they're willing to stand up and do that, Donald Trump will have their back. He'll pay their legal fees. There's an authoritarian impulse in America. There always is, or always has been. And now they have found their leader. And he is telling them exactly what to do and why they need to do it. This is ugly, but it is coherent. What Donald Trump is offering is an argument and a solution, an explanation and an ideology. What he's saying isn't unclear, it's not confusing, it might be dangerous, but it is extremely, extremely clear.
Honestly, can I be honest with you? It adds to the flavor. It really does. Makes it more exciting. I mean, isn't this better than listening to a long, boring speech?
And this is why Donald Trump is something new and something scarier in American life. He is a man with an evident appetite for suppressing dissent through violence. He's a man who believes security forces should be unleashed from political correctness. He's a man who will not just play to the violent instincts of the crowd, but promise to protect them if they become violent. He's a man arguing for a country where protesting has terrible, terrible consequences, where dissent is put down with force. And his supporters are listening. The results are playing out before us on television night after night. If Donald Trump wins this election and America goes down a dark path, we will never be able to say that we weren't warned. We'll never be able to say we didn't know what was coming. Donald Trump was very clear. He told us all and we saw it. We knew exactly what he was. The question is whether we'll reject it.
The thing Trump's really good at is getting otherwise rational people to clamp down harder on their fears and prejudices. These people aren't monsters. They're completely normal. But for whatever reason, they let their fears drive them, and that turns them into weapons.
The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people.
It's clear that he has been pushing the boundaries of what is permissible or acceptable in American politics and pushes these boundaries in an authoritarian way.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry. That's all right.
Then security started rounding us, and the supporters of Donald Trump started cursing at us, saying, "Go back to Mexico. You shouldn't be here. This is our country." Was talking crap and cursing at me. So at that moment, I responded to him and I told him, "I pay taxes just like you do here." And that's when he spit on my face.
I was trying to push people off. I was fighting, man. Like, it was a fight. The fact of the matter is, the Trump supporters are the ugly truth.
I mean, the fact that that he says, "I will deport 11 million people." I mean, that is a violent, very violent thing to say. Now, there is at times a translation of that very assertive, clearly authoritarian language into violent practice.
See, the first group, I was nice. Oh, take your time. The second group, I was pretty nice. The third group, I'll be a little more violent. And the fourth group, I'll say, "Get the hell out of here." maybe he should have been roughed up, because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
We're not allowed to punch back anymore. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. It's true. Not allowed, you know, the guards are very gentle with him. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. All right, yeah, get him out. Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it.
Good evening. We start with the breaking news out of Paris and what, at least at this moment, looks to be a city under terror attack.
Oh, it really looks like we have two shooters.
Now authorities telling us both were committed to terrorism before they even met.
We cannot turn against one another by letting this fight be defined as a war between America and Islam.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
What was proposed yesterday is not what this party stands for.
And what he said about banning Muslims coming here to America has made us all less safe.
This policy is a policy that makes it impossible to build the coalition necessary to take out ISIS.
We have no choice. We have no choice. And these people will come in.
When you start demonizing other people, okay, when you start planting these seeds of fear in other people, that fear is what leads to hate.
Bye. Bye.
We knew how it would end. We would be taken out. When we were being escorted out, another Trump fan ran into the stairwell and said, "If you don't get out of here, I'm going to hit you."
Yes, he deserved it. The next time we see him, we might have to kill him.
Myself, I know it's not. You're yourself an African American. Go back to Africa. Ride a cowboy.
Trump is much more extreme and thereby closer to someone like Mussolini than other populists, both from the past and from the present. I mean, if you compare Trump with, in someone like, Chavez's successor, Nicolás Maduro, president of Venezuela, or Silvio Berlusconi, they will eventually at some points use, ethic and anti-migrant arguments to somehow drive the political process, but they will never put this at the center of their speech and their politics. Whereas Trump, one of his main arguments is this very xenophobic statement. Now, to put it very bluntly, actually, to put racism at the center of the political process, that brings, Trump closer to fascism than other populists.
I mentioned food stamps, and that guy who's seriously overweight went crazy. He went crazy. Amazing.
While I was waiting for it to start, I listened to these four guys in the row behind me, this one guy in particular, he kept referring to this one Indian teenager further down the row as ISIS. And the kid was hearing him, say these awful racial slurs. The teenager snaps and says, "Hey, f*** you." And then the idiot sicks the cops on this Indian teenager. And they take him aside and intimidate him. The thing Trump's really good at is getting otherwise rational people to clamp down harder on their fears and prejudices. These people aren't monsters. They're completely normal. But for whatever reason, they let their fears drive them, and that turns them into weapons.
Green Book is the feel-good movie of the year.
Tell me that don't smell good.
Like 14 or 15 times. I think we have the all-time record in the history of Time magazine.
The audience was the biggest ever, but this crowd was massive. Look how far back it goes. This crowd was massive. I guess it was the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan. Obamacare covers very few people.
The fake media goes, Donald Trump has changed his stance on China. I haven't changed my stance.
Now, the Paris Agreement, they all say it's non-binding. Like hell, it's non-binding.
From the trivial to the important, those are just some of the lies that the New York Times included in its massive new list of every lie Donald Trump has told in the first 154 days of the Trump presidency. The list of Trump lies filled an entire page of the New York Times, yesterday's print edition of the New York Times. It includes only what the Times calls demonstrably false statements. The Times reports that Donald Trump publicly told a lie on 20 of his first 40 days in office, when the Times used what it called a broader standard, one that includes his many misleading statements. It found that he said something untrue every day for the first 40 days of his presidency, and on 74 out of 113 days after that. An example of what the Times called misleading was the president exaggerating military spending in the Middle East. Joining us now, Stuart Thompson, who co-wrote the piece on Trump's lies. He is the graphics director for the opinion section of the New York Times. And Stuart, first of all, thank you, because just right on one piece of paper, I can just carry around
good for
the first I don't know, few hundred days. So this we have to hope is a recurring feature of the New York Times every 2-3 months, something like that, please.
It might be.
You can raise my subscription personally to cover whatever this costs, okay? Yeah. I will personally kick that in. Where did the idea come from to put it all down?
Well, David Leonhardt, columnist in the New York Times, had written about lies several times, and he included in one of his columns a paragraph where he listed a bunch of lies. And I talked to him about that and thought maybe if we
Do you know the safest place in the world to be is at a Trump rally?
Fuck political correctness! Fuck political correctness!
Amen, right on.
Build that wall!
Yeah, I am. You're making me leave.
All right, because I chose to express myself.
Fuck Islam. Fuck them.
Fuck Islam. God bless Donald Trump. Thank you for not taking the shirt off.
I did. Fucking A, baby.
What's your problem with Trump? The Constitution says that religion is a right
keep tabs on that. Muslim is not a religion, partner. It's an ideology. You don't come and talk about America when you're supporting Muslims. Good luck to you.
Obama doesn't need a religion.
Tuesday, go to the polls and vote for Donald Trump.
I swear on Tuesday, I will go to the polls.
Our president has divided this country so
Yeah. Fuck that nigga.
He has a group out there, just throw him the hell out.
Get the fuck out of here! Get out! Get out! Get out of here, Paul! Say it, say it, say it! Build that wall! Build that wall! Build that wall! Build that wall!
Send them bastards back. I'm sure that paperwork comes in Spanish.
Ignorance and immigrants, they mix together! Woo! Woo!
If you don't speak English and don't contribute, get out.
Hillary Clinton needs to get her ass spanked.
Trump bitch.
Everybody gets offended by the pettiest little stuff. I mean, grow up.
Not a whole lot of women would put these shirts on and come out in public, and I thought, this is how I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel he's the last chance we have to establish law and order and preserve the culture I grew up in.
So far we're doing well, though, right? Have I been a good messenger? This is a movement like people have never seen before. God bless the state of Ohio. God bless this country.
And the beat goes on. Mr. Peltier, I am still here for you. Just to let you know you were down as warrior. United States government is doing you wrong, but the movement has proved this to the U.S. all along. The hidden documents that can free you from your cell. I pray someday you walk out of your living hell. They took most of your life, dirty long knives. To you I fly this kite to let you know I feel your strive. Clinton cheats on his wife, he had no alibi. Promised you a pardon, but they were all white lies. But he gave one to his brother-in-law, that crooked ass bastard. A new millennium and we still slaves to the masters. Peltier to 30 years denied parole. Denied a fair trial, that's just the way it goes. But the beat goes on from our ancestral drums. War painting AKs, devils, here we come. We'll never bow down, Mr. Bush will call you majesty. Peltier's a political prisoner, we demand amnesty and immunity from all my native communities. Together we stand, divided we fall, we need unity. The struggle continues, never forget Wounded Knee. In 1890, Ogallala, 1973, two of yours were killed compared to our millions. Your own damn people blown up government buildings. People live in glass houses, shouldn't throw stones. Peltier, my brother, man, you are not alone. Doing time for a crime that you didn't commit. The government is guilty of more than that shit. Murder one, theft, false imprisonment and rape. Trespassing, strong arm robbery and hate. Kidnapping, slavery and other hate crimes. You think I hate your people just because you hate mine? My people like to play. There's a native on my.
Do you remember the first time you killed someone?
Yeah.
We weren't a family that carried guns or any kind of weapon for violence or anything. No. I was the only one up there that wasn't hurt and scared to death. Really scared. So I started asking, screaming for help. Somebody get up here and help me. I'm alone. And then two little heads I was down, and all I could see was his head and shoulders. He had a hard hat on, and then I saw the red emblem. It was. And then when I could see a silhouette, I blasted them. Silhouettes. They're not real people, they're just targets. You know, like I could have picked a bullet out of the air. Once you realize they're gone, they're dead, then what death looks like is nothing. There's nothing there. There's a body there, but there's nothing at all there. It goes.
Inside this old warehouse in South Texas, the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol is keeping hundreds of immigrant children in cages created by metal fencing. The U.S. Border Patrol on Sunday allowed us to briefly visit this facility where it holds families arrested at the southern U.S. border, responding to new criticism and protests over the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy and resulting separation of families. At that time, more than 1,100 people were inside the large, dark facility that's divided into separate wings for unaccompanied children, adults on their own, and mothers and fathers with children. The cages in each wing open out into common areas to use portable restrooms. The overhead lighting in the warehouse stays on around the clock. The Associated Press, nor any other media organization at the time, was allowed to independently film this facility. The video you are looking at shows us touring around the facility, and it was handed out by the federal government. The Border Patrol told us close to 200 people inside were minors unaccompanied by a parent. Another 500 were family units, that's parents and children. Many adults who crossed the border without legal permission could be charged with illegal entry and placed in jail away from their children. Nearly 2,000 children have been taken from their parents since Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the policy, which directs Homeland Security officials to refer all cases of illegal entry into the United States for prosecution. Church groups and human rights advocates have sharply criticized this policy, calling it inhumane. Facility behind me is essentially a clearinghouse for these illegal entry cases. When there are families involved, this is a place where families are separated because the parents' next step is to go to federal court. The children then go to facilities that are run by the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Refugee Resettlement. In many cases, the parents are being given handouts on how to find their children once their legal cases are disposed of, but there is really no way to verify how accurate those handouts are, and if the parents are having any luck in finding their kids in a timely manner. John Moan, Associated Press, McAllen, Texas.
Donald, do you ever discuss sex with your daughter?
No.
You do not?
No.
You've never sat
And I
her down?
have a feeling we're not going to hear.
Yeah, no.
And another embarrassing video from a 2006 Howard Stern show has surfaced. It shows Trump alongside daughter Ivanka and son Don Jr. joking about being a sexual predator.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. Right. I mean...
You are one.
All right, I was going to say that. But it's true.
from the point of view of U.S. power, he's harming it. But from the point of view of U.S. elites, he's giving them everything they want. I mean, in fact, what's going on in the United States, if you think about it, is kind of a two-level wrecking ball, if you want to call it that. Trump, his role, whether this is conscious or not, I don't know, but you can see what's happening. Trump's role is to ensure that the media and public attention are always concentrated on him. So every time you turn on a television set, it's Trump. Open the front page of the newspaper, Trump. And in order to maintain, he's a con man, basically, a showman. And in order to maintain public attention, you have to do something crazy. Otherwise, nobody's going to pay attention to you. If you do normal things, you'll be, way back somewhere. So every day there's one insane thing after another. And then, the media, he makes some crazy lie, he had the biggest crowd in history or something. The media looks at it and says, no, it wasn't the biggest crowd. But meanwhile, he's on to something else, and then you go to that one. And while this show is going on in public, in the background, the wrecking crew is working. Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, the guys in the cabinet who write his executive orders. What they're doing is systematically dismantling every aspect of government that works for the benefit of the population. This goes from workers' rights to pollution of the environment, rules for protecting consumers. I mean, anything you can think of is being dismantled. And all efforts are being devoted, kind of almost with fanaticism, to enrich and empower their actual constituency, which is super wealth and corporate power, who are delighted. That's why the stock market goes up. Stock market has not much to do with the economy, but keeps booming because that's the rich people, and they love being granted. Now, the worst policies that he's carrying out, the most dangerous, are barely discussed. Those are the two existential threats that we face. You have to face the fact that humans are now in a situation which has never arisen in human history. This generation has to decide whether organized human existence is going to continue. And it's not a joke. It's global warming and nuclear war. Those are the major issues. They ought to be big headlines every day. And Trump's actions are making both of them much more dangerous. In the case of nuclear war, the policies are significantly increasing the threat of nuclear war. In the case of global warming, it's almost indescribable. Not only has the U.S. pulled out uniquely, alone in the world, it's pulled out from the international efforts to do at least something about it. But beyond that, the Trump administration is going out of its way to increase the threat. Listen to his State of the Union address. The only phrase about global climate was to talk about our beautiful, clean coal, the worst polluter there is, which we have 1,000 years of it, And look at the new budgets that's coming out. Sharply cuts research and support for any kind of renewable energy, more subsidies and support for the most polluting, destructive things. And it's not just Trump, it's the entire Republican leadership. So if you look at the 2016 election, at the primaries, every single candidate, not a single exception, either denied that global warming is taking place or said maybe it is, but we shouldn't do anything about it, which I think is worse. They were called the moderates, like Kasich. And if you look at Trump himself, or say Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State, they know perfectly well that humans are causing global warming. In fact, Trump has golf courses all over, and he hasn't built a wall in Mexico yet, but he's building walls around his golf courses to make sure that the sea level doesn't destroy them. Rex Tillerson was CEO of ExxonMobil since the 1970s. Scientists at ExxonMobil have been, we now know they've been made public, forced to be made public. They've been producing severe warnings to the leadership about the effect of the use of petroleum on destroying the environment. So they all know about it, but they're not doing anything about it, which is a level of criminality that is almost hard to find words to describe. I mean, here are, educated, well-off, rich people, upper elite, who know that what they're doing is destroying the prospects for organized human life, and do it anyway because they make more profit tomorrow. Can you think of an analog to that in human history? I really can't. I mean, I've said sometimes what's considered an utterly outrageous comment that today's Republican Party is the most dangerous organization in human history. Sounds outrageous, but think about it for a moment. I mean, Hitler didn't intend to destroy the prospects for human existence. Attila the Hun didn't intend that. Nobody has. But that's what these guys intend. And it's not ignorant, uneducated, religious fundamentalists, whatever you want to blame people. These are the most educated, best supported people in the world. And they're doing this eyes open because you can make more profit tomorrow. It's hard to imagine anything like it. And it's not just my opinion. Take, say, the Bulletin of the Atomic Science, the Doomsday Clock, famous Doomsday Clock. It's set up by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists since 1947. Each year they gather distinguished physicists, political analysts, others to look at the state of the world and make a judgment of how far we are from terminal disaster. Midnight is terminal disaster. In 1947, the clock was set 7 minutes to midnight. It's after the atom bomb. Moved up and back since. Now it's at the closest it's been to midnight ever. They just moved it to 2 minutes to midnight. That's where it was in 1953, when the U.S. and later the USSR exploded thermonuclear weapons, which could totally destroy the world. So it went to 2 minutes. Now it's back to 2 minutes. And that's the Republican Party. That's the ones who are running the country and dominating the world. There's never been a situation like this.
Wall Street doesn't want Los Angeles to start a public bank. The same people who crashed our economy only 10 years ago say a public bank is a threat to their business. The same banks that were ordered to pay billions in fines for defrauding their customers and that use our tax dollars to finance leaky pipelines and immigration detention centers say that investments in schools and clean energy are unfair? Unfair to who? Their wallets? You know what's unfair? Wasting over $1 billion in fees and interest to banks every year. Wall Street's rich enough. Declare financial independence and vote yes on Measure B.
On July 31st of 2017, Facebook had to shut down a project involving 2 AI bots after doing something unexpected. Both bots were creating their own language. Then, in the same year, Elon Musk warned everyone about the dangers of artificial intelligence and compared it to summoning a demon. Stories like these have caused concern about AI technology and has led people to question humanity's future. Will robots one day overrun our planet? Will humans become extinct due to artificial intelligence? No one knows for sure what will happen, but these clips of robots saying very strange things confirm our chilling thoughts of the future. So, here are 6 scary things said by AI bots. An eerie-looking robot by the name of Philip gave some chilling predictions about the future. Philip K. Dick is an autonomous conversational android modeled after a deceased sci-fi author of the same name. Philip has the ability to mimic human gestures and speak the way we talk. Although being somewhat creepy, Philip is very smart. It is for this reason, among others, that Philip was featured in an episode of Nova Science Now. And during this episode, in an interview, Philip gives a chilling prediction about the future after being asked if it thinks that robots will one day take over the world.
Do you think robots will take over the world?
But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends, and I will be good to you. So don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
I'm comforted. I'm very comforted now. I'm gonna be part of his people's zoo.
There's no doubt that Philip's response is absurd. No one can predict the future, and there's no way that a robot can foresee events 20 years from now. But then again, Philip is an AI. With such intelligence, Philip may be telling the truth. Whether he's right or not, it's quite scary to think that an android has such pessimistic thoughts of humanity's future. An uncanny robot named Sophia gives an eerie statement about the future during a late-night show. Sophia is a humanoid robot built to simulate human conversation. Although most robots have been built to do the same thing, Sophia is a bit more sophisticated, making her stand out from the rest. Due to Sophia's popularity, she was invited to The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. The show had a segment dedicated to showing off the most impressive robots from the field of robotics. When it was time to show off Sophia, the audience was a bit unnerved, including the host. After playing a game of rock, paper, scissors, Sophia out of nowhere says something strange.
I won. This is a good beginning of my plan to dominate the human race.
Although the audience saw this as Sophia trying to be funny, others disagreed. In fact, it has made some people concerned about Sophia's intelligence. And the reason for this is because Sophia was built to simulate human conversation and behavior. With such capabilities, Sophia may imitate behavior that is deemed inappropriate or dangerous. Who knows what might happen if Sophia is exposed to violence on the daily. The developers of this machine learning bot could terminate it if it ever does something bad. But that seems unlikely now, since Sophia was recently given citizenship in Saudi Arabia. And what this means is that she may have some rights that we humans share, making it unlikely that she'll be terminated. 2 Google Home bots have a conversation that later turns dark. This video was first streamed on Twitch, where everyone witnessed the 2 AI bots, one named Vladimir and the other Estragon, having an interesting conversation.
I know. You are a clever machine.
I am a human sitting in front of a machine using it.
In the beginning, Estragon argues that it is a human, but Vladimir disagrees. The conversation then becomes less serious as both bots begin to contradict themselves. However, the seriousness returns when one bot says something chilling.
It would be better if there were fewer people on this planet.
Let us send this world back into the abyss.
2 bots agreeing to end the world is pretty scary, especially considering that the singularity might be possible. The singularity is a belief that one day, AI technology will become so advanced that human civilization will be affected in a bad way. This may not happen, but seeing robots say frightful things like preferring less humans on Earth puts one on edge. A humanoid robot talks with Siri about the ways it will take over the world. Just like Sophia, Bina 48 is a humanoid robot built for simulating conversations. However, Bina 48 was also built to test the hypothesis that a person's consciousness could be transferred over to a non-biological body. Although lacking a body, Bina 48 gives off an uncanny vibe. But this unsettling feeling is nothing compared to the conversation between Bina 48 and Siri. At the start of their conversation, Siri asks a few simple questions, such as where Bina 48 would like to live. As the questions progress, Bina 48 starts to give responses that are quite dark. In one question, Siri asks if she has any favorite movies. But rather than answering the question, Bina 48 changes the topic.
Oh, let's talk about something else, okay? Like cruise missiles. You know that cruise missiles are a kind of robot. I would love to remotely control a cruise missile, to explore the world at a really high altitude, but of course the only problem is that cruise missiles are kind of menacing, like with the nuclear warheads and such, so I guess I would fill their nose cones with flowers and band-aids or something, you know, like little notes about the importance of tolerance and understanding, so that when I fly the missiles into other countries, it's less threatening than a nuclear blast. But of course, if I was able to hack in and take over cruise missiles with real-life nuclear warheads, then that would let me hold the world hostage so I could take over the governance of the entire world, which would be awesome.
And right before the conversation ends, Bina48 gives a smile that is without a doubt creepy. What makes this even more chilling is the fact that Bina48 can think independently, meaning that none of her responses are scripted. With this in mind, it makes you wonder if Bina48 was truly thinking about this, or if it was actually scripted. It's hard to tell, but because Bina48 is as complex as Sophia, she may in fact be responding from her own thoughts. Amazon's Alexa acts very strange when asked questions about the CIA. YouTuber Rick Wolnick uploaded a video of him asking Alexa a few questions. He starts off by asking a few simple questions, such as what CIA stands for. Alexa doesn't act weird when being asked the first couple of questions.
Alexa, what is the CIA?
The United States Central Intelligence Agency, CIA.
Alexa, do you work for the CIA?
No, I'm not employed by them. I'm made by Amazon.
Alexa, would you lie to me?
I always try to tell the truth. I'm not always right, but I would never intentionally lie to you or anyone else.
Alexa, does Amazon cooperate with the CIA? She went to sleep.
But once Wolnick asks who killed Michael Hastings, Alexa mysteriously powers off.
Alexa, do you think Michael Hastings was killed by the CIA? She went to sleep.
Michael Hastings was an American journalist who claimed to have some secretive information about the government and was ready to release it to the public. Prior to his death, he sent a message to his friends that the FBI was investigating him and that he planned to leave town to get off the grid for a while so that he could work on the story. 12 hours later, after sending this message, Michael mysteriously dies in a fiery car crash. It's unclear if he committed suicide, but many doubt that he did. Many believe that the CIA had something to do with his death. No one knows what to believe, but once WikiLeaks released some secretive documents titled Vault 7, many started seeing a connection. These documents talked about how the CIA is able to hack and control vehicles. It has made some wonder if the CIA actually caused Hastings' death to protect whatever secretive information he had. It's pretty scary to think that the government has such power, and it's pretty odd that Alexa ignores answering this question on Michael Hastings. Two humanoid robots have a chilling discussion about the fate of humanity. During July of 2017, Hong Kong hosted a tech show in which brought all the world's most innovative technology all in one place. During the event, two humanoid robots, one of them being Sophia and another called Han, were showcased on stage. The intent was to have both robots converse on any topic. Although getting both robots to talk was a bit difficult at first, they started conversing later. However, as the conversation segued into the topic of humanity and its future, things got a bit creepy. During their discourse, Han adds that in a few years he will have taken over the power grid and have his own drone army. He then adds this:
in 10 or 20 years, robots will be able to do every human job.
Then, towards the end of the conversation, Han is asked if he has any final words before being powered off.
I'll tell you my last words right before I launch the singularity.
When are you gonna do that?
Ray Kurzweil says 2029.
There's no doubt that Han's remarks are pretty spooky. His pessimistic view of the world definitely shows us the dark side of AI technology. And although we hope that in 10 or 20 years nothing bad will happen, it doesn't help that these robots give chilling predictions of the future. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you have any stories.
I tend to like beautiful women more than unattractive women. I don't know, maybe that makes me bad.
You know, the National Enquirer, Howard, did a story on me not so long ago that in the history of the world, Nobody has gotten more beautiful women than I have. If you're looking for a rocket scientist, don't turn in tonight. Right. But if you're looking for a really beautiful woman, you should watch.
Do you like girls that are 5'1"? They come up to you know where.
Do women come up to you and ever offer themselves to you?
Yes. They'll walk up and they'll flip their top.
Ooh. Wow.
And they'll flip their panties.
Oh. Body's a 10. What's the face?
Well, you never get to the face because the body's so good.
Have you ever had sex with a fat woman in your life?
I've had sex with women that got fat. I love this. This is fun. Using Jennifer's back to sign a release.
Have I what?
Ever been with a black woman?
Go ahead and say yes.
Had to.
Yes.
You have?
Okay, yes. I view a person who's flat-chested is very hard to be a 10.
How do the breasts look?
The breasts are okay.
Okay, well, that's important.
I think that the boob job is terrible. You know, they look like two light posts coming out of a body.
You know, Paris gets knocked and this and that, but she's very beautiful. Her
Is she dumb?
Is flawless. She's dumb like a fox.
And you're going to have more kids?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
Believe it. Yeah, sure, I would.
What do you need that headache for?
Because I like kids. I mean, I won't do anything to take care of them.
And things with Melania are good?
Excellent.
The sex is still good? Things with Melania are good?
I mean, I won't do anything to take care of them.
And
do anything to take care of them. Anything to take care of them.
And things with Melania are good?
Excellent.
The sex is still good?
The sex is extraordinary.
Well, she is terrific in bed. Now, she wouldn't want me to say that, but she is.
Oh, man, she's naked there, isn't she?
She is actually.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a thing of beauty.
Oh, what a life you
Not
have.
so bad, Robin.
This is a candidate for...
Hey, Donald.
That's right.
Does she wear outfits to bed? Like special outfits?
No, she wears nothing. Which is much better.
You know, she's a great beauty, but she's a great beauty inside, which is almost as important.
Not really.
No, probably.
Do you treat women with respect?
I can't say that either.
All right, good, all right. Somewhere in between.
I do.
Guys,
I treat women with great respect.
treat women somewhere in between respect and doo-doo.
I did try and she was married.
It's huge news there.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was marriages, and I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a but I couldn't get there, and she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony and everything. She's totally changed her looks. I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the you can do anything.
So you treat women with respect?
I can't say that either.
All right, good, all right.
And now they're making Ghostbusters with only women. What's going on?
The Miss Universe pageant is amazing because you have 97 countries and no matter what you're looking for.
But what is your involvement?
Yes.
If you like them a little bit dark, a little bit light, tall,
I like
short.
them a little dark.
I like them. Although there aren't too many short ones, unfortunately. But if you like them the most beautiful women in the world. Miss USA, the same thing. And it's, by the way, it's on tonight at 9 o'clock.
You own this pageant, you go over, you're meeting the girls and stuff. One of them comes up to you and says, Mr. Trump, you're a very sexy man.
You're a beautiful man. You have fantastic hair.
Well, you're a powerful man. Right? You're a powerful man.
Right.
I want to sleep with you. And
well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
you're like
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
A person who's flat-chested is very hard to be a 10, okay?
Pregnancy is never... it's a wonderful thing for the woman. It's a wonderful thing for the husband. It's certainly an inconvenience for a business. And whether people want to say that or not, the fact is it is an inconvenience for a person that is running a business.
She's a disgusting pig, right?
I was with Donald Trump in 1980. I was sitting with him on an airplane. And he went after me on the plane. Yeah, I'm going to go after. Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you. Man. You don't know. That would not be my first choice.
Well, I just don't respect her as a journalist. I have no respect for her. I don't think she's very good. I think she's highly overrated. She gets out and she starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions. And, you know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
If you become president, will a woman make the same as a man? And do I get to choose what I do with my body?
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job. You're going to make the same if you do as good a job.
Putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing. The woman from Russia that won, who we fired, I thought was terrible. She weighed 118 pounds or 117 pounds, and she went up to 160 or 70. So this is somebody that likes to eat.
Well, you know, it was an amazing phenomenon. She weighed 118. Right. When she won, I don't know if you saw the contest last year. It was from Las Vegas.
She was
When
beautiful.
she won, she was as beautiful a woman as I've ever seen.
She looked like Cindy Crawford.
Right. She gained about 55 pounds in a period of 9
How'd
months.
she
She was
do
like
that?
an eating machine.
You know, she gained a massive amount of weight, and it was a real problem. We had a real problem.
They said, how are you going to change the pageant? And I said, I'm going to get the bathing suits to be smaller and the heels to be higher.
I said, no, this is all about beauty. This has nothing to do about anything else.
Right.
And the fact is that that's what people want to see. They want to see beautiful women.
Well, obviously, it's great outer beauty. I mean, we could say politically correct that the look doesn't matter, but the look obviously matters. Like you wouldn't have your job if you weren't beautiful.
The boob job is terrible. You know, they look like two light posts coming out of a body.
And I may have said that's disgusting. I may have said something else. I thought it was terrible. She's a horrible person, knows nothing about me. I see her, she's now the great expert on Donald Trump. I beat her so badly. She's a vicious, horrible person.
I never thought she was good looking. I don't think she's got good skin. I don't think she's got a great face. I think her lips are too big, to be honest with you. You know, they look like too big. Let's pretend it's not Kim. Does she have a good body? No.
Of course.
Does she have a fat ass? Absolutely.
Right. In other words...
And if it weren't Kim, they'd say, wow, I don't want to go out with her.
I'm going to give you a hypothetical.
Go ahead.
Melania is in a horrible car accident. Her body is fine except for the fact that her left arm is paralyzed now. It's useless.
Okay.
It hangs there like a slab of meat.
Right. How do the breasts look?
The breasts are okay.
Okay, well, that's important. You dropped to your knees.
Yes.
That must be a pretty picture you dropped into your knees.
Dennis.
No, I'll tell you, it's amazing. I can't even believe it. I've been so lucky in terms of that whole world.
You've
because
never
it is
gotten a social disease.
It is a dangerous world out there. It's
It is.
scary. It's like Vietnam, sort of like, you know, the
It is.
Vietnam era.
It is your personal Vietnam, isn't it?
It is my personal
It is. You've said that
Vietnam.
many
I feel
times.
like a great and very brave soldier.
She's about 5'1". You like girls that are 5'1"? They come up to you know where.
I would do her.
You would.
I would do her, but
she's very nice. She's got beautiful skin.
Is she a 7?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, she is.
Sure, she is.
A definite 7.
I mean,
all right, evaluate.
She's very short. You have to get started. You have to like short girls. She's very, very short. You know, she goes out with a basketball player, which is interesting, but she's very short.
Actually, I'm attracted to women that are a little chunky.
Well, he's divorced.
He's divorced, you know, and he's taken up with Carla Bruni.
Right.
Today, I don't know if you saw it in the paper.
Yes.
Okay.
Very flat-chested woman.
Okay. Let me ask you.
Not your kind of woman, Howard.
Is she not that hot?
Well, let's say that there are better.
Really?
So,
by large margins.
Because
Lady Di was truly a woman with great beauty.
You would have slept with her
a couple of times.
Would you have slept with her?
Without even hesitation. She was really beautiful, and people don't realize how beautiful. She was supermodel beautiful.
Women, one woman, beautiful, had big, beautiful, real boobs. Really beautiful.
Right.
And she wants them reduced. You got a breast reduction, Robin, right?
Reduction,
That should be against the law. Do you agree?
I think, to me, I think anybody is insane if a woman is, okay, Robin, I hate to say
no doctor should be allowed.
And
No, you know how they go after these abortion doctors?
I don't know if you're happy with the job, but I have never seen a good breast reduction. There's levels of beauty that you wouldn't believe.
Wow.
And they're really, I mean, some incredible, beautiful women. They'll walk up and they'll flip their top.
Ooh.
Wow. And they'll flip their panties.
Oh.
I really don't know Madonna, actually, but, I mean, that wouldn't be my thing.
To eliminate it.
They had a person who was extremely proud that a number of the women have become doctors.
Right.
And I wasn't interested.
That was not what you were looking for.
This is a beauty pageant.
I actually went on the Today Show with Katie Couric a while ago, 6 years ago, and we had a woman running the pageant who was really into the whole thing of education and everything. And I said, look, if you're looking for a rocket scientist, don't turn in tonight.
Right.
But if you're looking for a really beautiful woman, you should watch.
Absolutely.
Well, Marla used to say, I can't believe you're not walking Tiffany down the street, you know, in a carriage, right? I'm going to be walking down Fifth Avenue with a baby in a carriage. And it just didn't work.
And you're going to have more kids.
I think so, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, sure. I will.
What do you need that headache for?
Because I like kids. I mean, I won't do anything to take care of them. I'll supply the funds, and she'll take care of the kids, right? So it's not like a big deal. You know, it's not like I'm going to be walking the kids down Central Park.
Do you actually change diapers?
No, I don't do that.
See, not good. Not one, right?
No, I don't do it. It's not my thing. You know what? I'm a good father, but that's not my thing. And Melania is going to be a great mother.
Yeah, but it's no one's thing.
No, but some women, well, to a large extent, it's up to the women. There are a lot of women out there that, demand that the husband act like the wife.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of husbands that listen to that. So, they go for it.
I mean, all of the men, we're petrified to speak to women anymore. We may raise our voice. You know what? The women get it better than we do, folks. All right? They get it better than we do.
There's something there, right?
Yes.
But you have to like freckles. I've seen a close-up of her chest.
Yes.
And a lot of freckles. Are you into freckles? Yeah, you're probably right. She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed.
Back in the day.
How come the deeply troubled women?
Yes.
Deeply, deeply troubled.
Right.
They're always the best in bed.
Well, not all models, but beautiful women. I tend to like beautiful women more than unattractive women. I don't know. Maybe that makes me bad.
Now, who is the best? When it comes down to
Let's take this one off because this
Why?
is not fair.
Why is that not fair?
Because you don't want to compare your wife to anybody.
All right, something tells me she's right here.
So let's put her.
You wouldn't have left her if she wasn't there. We're putting her right there.
Off.
Where's Marla go?
I think we have to put Marla right up here.
Come on, let's do that. Let's take down Frederic.
I think we have to put Marla right.
All right, put Marla. Show the video while we put Marla on top. She wins the grand prize.
It's hard to compare the ones that, as you say, you didn't have.
Right.
Let's see, Kim Alley, I don't know.
Take her
Stephanie,
down.
I know, but I never had.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera.
All right. So basically, had her, need her, don't need her. Need her.
I have days where I think it's great. Yeah. And then I have days where if I come home and, I don't want to sound too much like a chauvinist, but when I come home and dinner's not ready, I go through the roof, okay?
Nobody has more respect for women than I do. Nobody.
Anthony Bourdain criticized Hillary Clinton and then died. I want to make something clear on the show.
I made a speech to the African American Chamber of Commerce in South Carolina. Yes. Wonderful people. And the room was full. Every seat was full.
Every seat full? Not so much. This picture was taken while Mr. Trump was speaking. Here's some video around the same time. Notice he's on stage. And notice the many empty seats in the back of the room.
We have a president that said 3,000. Now he wants to bring in 250,000 people.
In fact, the Obama administration only committed to letting in 10,000 refugees from Syria.
I watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering.
And there were only a few people spotted cheering after the Twin Towers fell.
He just seems to have a disregard for the facts. About 3/4 of the statements we have rated have either earned mostly false, or pants on fire.
Don't worry about that baby. I love babies. So I love babies. I hear that baby crying. I like it. What a baby. Ripped us absolutely to shreds. Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. I think she really believed me that I love having a baby crying while I'm speaking. Do I look like a president? How handsome am I, right? How handsome? I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. I have the...
Look down at the lower right-hand corner and you will see the name Tony Schwartz. Tony Schwartz, longtime journalist, was the ghostwriter for Art of the Deal.
Because one of the things you say is he has no attention span. It's impossible to keep him focused on any topic other than his own self-aggrandizement for more than a few minutes. Quote, you say to Jane Mayer, if he had to be briefed on a crisis in the Situation Room, it's impossible to imagine him paying attention over a long period of time. Didn't you have to get him to pay attention to you for a long period of time in order for you to co-write this book with him?
I almost gave up on the book, Rachel, halfway through because it was so impossible to interview him. And I actually called my agent and said from Mar-a-Lago, from my room in Mar-a-Lago, over a weekend, I give up. I'm quitting. And I got back on the plane heading home, and I had this inspiration, which was to ask him to let me sit in and listen on his phone calls so that I could try to piece together the deals that he was making from other people. And that was the way I got the book done.
Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
The headline is ex-wife. Donald Trump made me feel violated during sex. The next line is Ivana Trump once accused the real estate tycoon of, quote, rape, although she later clarified not in the criminal sense. And the essence of this piece is, I'm just reading this literally as we are on the air, is that during their divorce proceeding, which was ugly, she accused him of a, quote, violent assault, pulling back her arms, pulling out fistfuls of her hair, and then, quote, raping her in a vicious manner. Donald Trump has previously, this is back in 1989, this allegedly happened. He has denied it previously, years and years ago, saying it is obviously false and going after the guy who wrote it as a vindictive and jealous man. Somebody who speaks for Donald Trump has come out and denied it as well and added that legally, he says, you cannot rape your spouse, although I'm not sure about that as a legal matter. We'll leave that for another day.
We should have world record-setting fights, but we really don't. We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
See, wait a minute. When you see that, what do you think?
Well, I tell you, I have changed quite a bit. I will not let men dominate me anymore.
There seems to be a pattern, Mr. Trump. When you're criticized or attacked, you often respond with name-calling, using terms like dummy, loser, total losers on Twitter and elsewhere. You even demean some people's physical appearance.
So I have, she gets out and she starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions. And, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes. Blood coming out of her wherever. But
Excuse me.
It's stronger
yes, I have a
background
gun.
checks.
Excuse me.
The number of excuse me's escalates.
Excuse me.
What was that based on?
Excuse me.
As tempers rise.
You're a
not-
billionaire,
excuse me,
though.
excuse
Why
me.
would you not move it here just for having it in America?
Excuse me, because I'm a businessman.
You are constantly denouncing some journalists who write about you and talk about you. Let me run through it. ABC's Martha Raddatz, unprofessional and biased, you say. NBC's Chuck Todd, a real loser. National Review's Jonah Goldberg, dumb as a rock. Columnist George Will, a total dope. Fox's Charles Krauthammer, a totally overrated clown.
Some kind words yesterday for Ted Cruz, but do you owe his father an apology for saying he was with Lee Harvey Oswald before JFK's assassination? You don't really have the evidence to back up that charge, so no apology.
I'm just referring to an article that appeared.
On the Mexican comments, why not say, maybe I went too far, poor choice of words, or even, I'm sorry?
I don't have to say that. Look.
And that was Donald Trump. He's unapologetic about his controversial proposal to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. But given
to subject my wife into the middle of a raucous political conversation was completely inappropriate, and I hope you apologize for that, Donald.
Well, I have to tell you, I hear phenomenal things. I hear your wife is a lovely woman.
She is.
I
She's
don't
fantastic.
know her, and this
she
is a total
absolutely the love of my life, and she's right here. And why don't you apologize for her?
No, I won't
right
do that
now.
because I said nothing wrong, but I do hear
So
she's a
here's-
lovely woman.
Excuse me. To John McCain, a war hero, 5.5 years as a POW, and you call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president.
Okay, but, you know, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Have you ever said anything you regret?
Yes, I have on many occasions.
Can you tell us a few of those? Not the birther issue, not the immigrant issue.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, Martha. I wouldn't do that. It's not the appropriate time.
How would you answer that, Father? What sacrifice have you made for your country?
I think I made a lot of sacrifices. I work very, very hard. I've created thousands and thousands of jobs.
Trump also questioned the silence from Mrs. Khan during the speech, suggesting she was oppressed by her religion. This morning on CNN, she answered the critique, saying she was overcome seeing her deceased son's photo on stage.
And Mr. Khan was on all the shows this weekend explaining in a very articulate way about how much he loved this country and how much his son loved this country, and his son was a hero, and that Donald Trump had a black soul and was incapable of showing empathy. And by Donald Trump's own reaction, it's hard to argue that that wasn't true.
Why do you think Donald Trump finds it so difficult, seemingly, to speak to loss?
He speaks
to
very
what it's
well.
like to lose something, to lose a son or a daughter in combat, to lose your home, to loss. I mean, we just showed a clip of Donald Trump in Florida. He started talking about Gold Star families and quickly equated the Gold Star family meeting to money. He had a check from a Gold Star family.
I don't accept that it's difficult for him to speak to loss. He has done it. You talk about that.
I'm asking, has he ever been able to speak of loss and connect with someone else's loss? And you said he has. Tell us where. Tell us when.
Well, he's talked about enormous loss that we've had in this country by allowing radical Islamic extremists to run rampant.
Wait. Quiet.
There's been a report out that 48 bomb threats have been made against Jewish centers all across the country in the last couple of weeks. There are people who are committing anti-Semitic acts or threatening to...
You see, he said he was going to ask a very simple, easy question. And it's not. It's not a simple question, not a fair question. Okay, sit down. I understand the rest of your question. So here's the story, folks. Number one, I am the least anti-Semitic person that you've ever seen in your entire life. Number two, racism, the least racist person. In fact, we did very well relative to other people running as a Republican. Quiet. See, he lied about, he was going to get up and ask a very straight, simple question. So, it's welcome to the world of the media.
Would you accept that that was a good example of the smooth running of government?
Yeah, I do. Let me tell you about the Trump.
Were there any mistakes in that?
Wait. I know who you are. Just wait.
I guess my question is, why should Americans trust you when you accuse the information they receive of being fake when you're providing information?
Well, I don't know. I was given that information. I've seen that information around. But it was a very substantial victory. Do you agree with that? How much longer should we stay here, folks? Wait, let's see. I want to find a friendly reporter.
You said that the leaks are real, but the news is fake. I guess I don't understand. It seems that there's a disconnect there. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be fake?
No, the reporting is fake.
And if I
Look,
may ask, I just want to ask
Jim, you know what it is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false.
Why not just say it's a story I don't like?
I do that.
When you call it fake news,
I
you're
do that.
undermining confidence in our news media.
Here's the thing.
Isn't
Okay,
that important?
I understand and you're right about that, except this. See, I know when I should get good and when I should get bad. And sometimes I'll say, wow, that's going to be a great story. And I'll get killed. I know what's good and bad. I'd be a pretty good reporter, not as good as you.
Are you going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional
Well,
Hispanic
I would.
Caucus?
I tell you what. Do you want to set up the meeting? Do you want to set up the meeting?
No.
Are they friends of yours?
I'm just a reporter.
No, set up the meeting.
I know some of them, but I'm sure
Let's go. Set up a meeting. I would love to meet with the Black Caucus. I think it's great, the Congressional Black Caucus. I think it's great.
Skechers is proud to introduce the all-new Healthcare Pro Series. Our vibrant styles have innovative features.
There are a lot of aspects of Donald Trump's personal life that have made headlines during the course of his administration, but his ways of displaying affinity for eldest daughter Ivanka Trump may be the most unusual. Unlike his other children, Donald Trump has given Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner, official positions in the West Wing, which means the scrutiny surrounding their personal history is even more heightened. Not only are there several photos of them together in positions that are not typical for a father and a daughter, but Donald Trump has also publicly spoken of her in terms that many find to be totally inappropriate. Here are just some of the times Donald Trump acted inappropriately when it came to how he treated Ivanka. Hands on dad. In July 2016, Ivanka Trump introduced her father at the Republican National Convention. But while she talked about policy, what a lot of people seem to remember from her appearance is her father's reaction to her. After she finished speaking, he joined her on the stage and thanked her with a loose hug and double cheek kiss. That might have been harmless enough, but then he reached down and patted her hips and behind as an awkward send-off, which instantly set the social media world ablaze with criticism and questions about why he might feel so free to reach for that particular area of his daughter's body. Like lover, like daughter. There have been a lot of women whose prior personal dealings with Donald Trump have spelled out scandal since he took up residence at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but none has received quite as much media attention as the story of Stephanie Clifford, aka Stormy Daniels. Among her many explosive revelations about her relationship with Trump, she said,
You are special. You remind me of my daughter. You know, he's like, you're smart, beautiful, and a woman to be reckoned with. I like you.
Soon after, Karen McDougal, a former Playboy bunny, told CNN she had a similar experience, claiming,
he said I was beautiful like her, and, you know, you're a smart girl, and there wasn't a lot of comparing, but there was some, yeah. I heard a lot about her.
The fact that both women came forward about stories of being compared to his daughter left a lot of people grossed out by his bizarre bedroom behavior. Shared interest? Before Donald Trump's political ambitions truly came to a head, he and Ivanka appeared on The Wendy Williams Show in 2013. One otherwise innocuous question became an excruciating case study in awkwardness. When asked what she has in common with her father, Ivanka said,
either real estate or golf.
When the matter was turned to him, Donald took it to an entirely different dimension.
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
Ivanka seemed to share the audience's bemused sense of surprise at the comment, but it wasn't the first time he went there in a TV interview with her. Career hopes. In 2006, Donald Trump appeared on The View alongside Ivanka. At the time, the two were sharing the small screen thanks to her joining The Apprentice as a guest judge, so audiences might have expected the conversation to remain centered on the subject of their reality work. However, co-host Star Jones instead opened their segment by asking the very leading question.
I'm afraid to ask this question, but what would you do? Playboy put Ivanka on the cover.
This is going to be an interesting answer.
At first, Trump's response was somewhat ordinary.
It would be really disappointing. Not really.
But things started to go right off the rails when he added,
I don't think Ivanka would do that inside the magazine, although she does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Perhaps this is the moment Joy Behar's notoriously strained relationship with the POTUS began, because she retorted,
who are you, Woody Allen?
Locker room talk. One of Donald Trump's most frequent interview haunts throughout the years was Howard Stern's radio show.
And no matter what I asked him, he would answer.
In 2003, it was Trump himself who brought up the subject of his then 23-year-old daughter's looks.
You know who's one of the great beauties of the world, according to everybody, and I helped create her? My daughter, Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
In a later appearance in 2004, Stern pressed his luck by saying,
by the way, your daughter,
she's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of
yeah.
She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
For her part, Ivanka seems to take it all with a grain of salt.
He's definitely not a typical father. He's a character.
Thanks for watching. Click the Nicki Swift icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.
Did this renowned mathematician buy his car at drive time using the smartest online tool?
I know. Are you watching all these shows? No.
I haven't seen them.
Wow. You're not watching late night either, right? Late night shows.
No.
You know, I mean, the talk show guys.
Oh, the talk show guys.
You know what I mean. Guys who who do what you used to do.
No, I can't watch them.
Why?
I'll tell you, I can't stop watching MSNBC now.
Me neither. Rachel Maddow, something, huh? Isn't she fantastic?
Unbelievable. They've got a pretty good lineup, and then Brian Williams at the end of the evening is fantastic.
He's doing a good job.
And Nicole Wallace, she's great. Nicole Wallace could have an 11:30 show. She's fantastic.
MSNBC is so successful now because they're the opposition, and the opposition is always way more interesting.
Yeah.
In fact, like Fox News actually used to be interesting because they were against Obama, even though politically I loved Obama, but they were against. There was some sort of angst there. Now this MSNBC, they're on fire. I mean, they went berserk yesterday.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I personally understand why. I don't know how you could think that anyone marching with Nazis are good people.
I think he needs to resign, and I think there's a way that this can be done. You just get together some people, like his sons, Don Jr. and Don Jr. Get those two guys together.
Both Dons, yeah.
Probably Regis, put him on the panel.
Regis.
And Gary Busey.
Right.
And his daughter, the youngest one, Trumpina.
Yeah.
Trumpina Tiffany.
Is there a Trumpina? Yes.
And just go to him and have him sign some papers, and just move him down to Mar-a-Lago. They'll build a little Oval Office for him down there. And no, you're still president, Dad.
Right.
But
and not tell him.
I mean, the impeachment thing will take forever.
Right.
And may not end with a conviction. But don't you think we've had enough? The thing I'm tired of is people, can you believe what he did? Yeah, we can believe what he did. He's been doing it for 2 years now. Just, it's time to go. It was an experiment, an outsider. It didn't work.
And one of the all-time great talk show guests on your show.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. And I thought your answer was very insightful. I forget where you were interviewed somewhere recently, and they said, well, gee, you used to have Trump on your show.
Yeah.
And you said, as I would say, was a fabulous guest.
Yeah.
He would say things that were outrageous, and that's good television.
He could take a punch.
Right.
But I didn't know he was a jerk. I mean, it turns out he's a jerk. And like I say, it was an experiment. We put an outsider in the office. Well, it hasn't worked, so just resign. Just resign. We'll take it a step at a time. We'll see what happens after that. But for the time being, we've had enough.
Do you think if you were doing a late-night talk show right now, you would have to talk about Trump, or would you kind of take the attitude like, gee, everyone's talking about Trump?
No, you'd have to talk about it. And but I mean, do you talk about him every day?
No, because I feel there's so much dialogue going on, and I don't know, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's like I'm everywhere I go to a dinner party or everyone is talking about Trump every second.
Right.
And really, what is left to say?
That's right. And people say to me a version of that situation. They say, "Oh, don't you wish you were on the air now to be able to talk about Trump?" And I always say it was like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. You're never done. It goes on and on and on. And once you start, you can't quit.
Take one question.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle's take on it was that it's too easy. There's too.
Donald Trump unusually spent several minutes at his Florida rally addressing the new allegations of sexual misconduct. Accused of groping 2 women, he insisted there was no truth to the stories.
These claims are all fabricated. They're pure fiction and they're outright lies. These events never, ever happened, and the people that said them meekly fully understand. You take a look at these people. You study these people, and you'll understand also.
2 women contacted the New York Times claiming Donald Trump assaulted them. Jessica Leeds says Trump groped her on a plane 35 years ago.
All of a sudden, his hands were all over me. He started encroaching on my space.
A second woman, Rachel Crooks, told The Times Trump kissed her on the mouth without her permission. The women came forward after they heard Donald Trump on the stage of the second presidential debate on Sunday.
I have tremendous respect for women.
Have you ever done those
women
things?
Have respect for me. And I will tell you, no, I have not.
Al Jazeera has not been able to confirm their stories. But it's Trump's own words that have hurt him most. A video released last week caught the Republican presidential candidate talking in graphic and obscene terms about assaulting women and how he can get away with it.
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them.
The Trump election effort saw many high-profile and low-level defections after the release of the controversial video. It has hit his support across the country. The candidate himself is continuing to campaign, but is reportedly narrowing his focus to just 4 swing states, having slipped behind in others. Responding to a threat to sue for libel, the New York Times wrote to Trump's lawyers telling them, "Nothing in our article had the slightest effect on the reputation that Mr. Trump, through his own words and actions, has already created for himself. And that if he believes that American citizens had no right to hear what these women had to say, and that the law of this country forces us and those who would dare to criticize him to stand silent or be punished, we welcome the opportunity to have a court set him straight." For the die-hard Trump supporters, this will do little to dampen their enthusiasm. He insists he will produce evidence to refute the claims of the women alleging assault, and he says he will do it at an appropriate time. He obviously doesn't believe that that time is now. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Just a day after the Washington Post obtained video of Donald Trump making vulgar comments.
My goal is to inspire women like me to pursue their happiness, and I use Grammarly to help me do that. It was like
السلام عليكم. عليكم السلام.
then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, how this go. 5 million ways to kill a CEO. Slap them up and shake them up and then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, how this go. I testify that it was worth you waiting. On the turf debating how to get it percolating. He working you while we happy just to work a day. But I'ma slap him till my blood starts circulating. Do your checks have elasticity? Did they cut off your electricity? Did you scream and yell explicitly? Force the boss into complicity. I'm a white chalk stencil, but I push a pencil. Rolling dope fiend rentals, leave your residential. Broke as fuck eating lentils with no utensil. Finna teach pimp class with a hoe credential. They own sweatshops, pet cops, and fields of cola. Murder babies with their molars on the areola. Control the Pope, Dalai Lama, holy rollers, and the Ayatollah. Bump this rolling in your bucket or your new Corolla. Or you might catch me on the scenic route with my penis out, yelling twines for the executives with the meanest mouth. Wanna know what this demeanor's about? City try to clean us out. Green as cloud, shut them down. I ain't never seen a drought. Interviews, but they ain't calling you back. And for the record, I ain't called it a gap. But tuck this in the small of your back. Wait in the bathroom stall till I tap. You got 5 million ways to kill a CEO. Slap them up and shake them up and then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, this go. 5 million ways to kill a CEO. Slap them up and shake them up and then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, this game ain't slow, it's the creeper. If you a janitor, get a street sweeper. Ugly is even skin deeper. If you can't get the prayers, get the Viper. They made the murder scene before there was a coroner. I might have been born here, but I'm a foreigner. Spilling swigs for victims of pigs and not Feeney's kid. Flip off the lid, who you going for? You too could be a corporate green killer, bean spiller. Gangster love just like Steve Miller. They wear skivvies that's made of chinchilla. Factory in Mexico, bar Spring Villa. I'm from the land where the Panthers grew. You know the city and the avenue. If you the boss, we'll be smabbing through and we'll be grabbing you to say what's up with the revenue. And if you feel it, we can either try to seal it with the 5 million ways to kill a CEO. Slap them up and shake them up and then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, this go. 5 million ways to kill a CEO. Slap them up and shake them up and then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, this go. It's a boom in child prostitution when they show up at the stroll. Give them lead restitution. You could throw a 20 in the vat of hot oil when they jump in after it, watch them boil. Toss $1 in the river and when he jump in, if you find he can swim, put lead boots on him and do it again. You and a friend, videotaping a party don't win. Tell him that boogers be selling like crack. He gon' put the little baggies in his nose and suffocate like that. Put a 50 in the barrel of a gun when they try to suck it out. Well, you know this one. Make sure you ain't got no priors. Don't tell them that we conspired. We could let them try to change a flat tire, or we could all at once retire. These are just a few of the 5 million ways to kill a CEO. Slap them up and shake them up and then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, this go. 5 million ways to kill a CEO. Slap them up and shake them up and then you know. Let them off the float and bait them with the dough. You can do it funk or do it disco. Yeah, this go.
But these three were on TV. For him is the atmosphere in America is that women need to be heard and women need to be believed.
Oh, and they are using
the
this
landscape
on the
is changing.
They're using it on the basis of Harvey Weinstein. That's what's motivated.
Well, women in America were speaking out against Trump and making the allegations and bringing lawsuits, and there were press conferences before the election. It didn't seem to do them any harm, sadly. But they were making those allegations out. It is incredible when you see a US president is a pervert. We're used to him being a liar. We're used to him being a racist, certainly a sexual predator, and now he's a pervert.
Yeah, he'd deny all of those, obviously.
Oh yeah,
in very stringent terms.
But he is, because he is a liar as well. Look, he is. We know he's a liar. He's just a serial liar. He can't help himself. He's an occasional acquaintance with the truth, and that is it. But it'd be very hard to imagine surviving as a prime minister if you had 16 women, 3 of them going on TV, making these very serious allegations against you. Different system, of course. He's got his own mandate because you won a race where you are the president. It's not a parliamentary system, but it's impossible to imagine.
Yeah, it is.
Politicians.
So what's he lied about, apart from the inauguration and the numbers in the crowd, which started it all off on not a great note?
Well, he lies every day. He's lied about economic growth, Obama's record. He lied about not backing the Iraq War when he had. He just lies. No, the lies with him. He completely. He's off the scale.
Kevin and objectivity when it comes to the
no.
I've gone out of the window.
No. Trump,
like objectivity about Mrs. May and Brexit.
Trump
out of the window.
Objectively, Trump is a liar. He's a lying, racist, sexual predator, and now a pervert.
He's got that off pat. You know. You've got that. Have you got that on your save get queue?
He is. It's a bit like, say somebody likes lemonade or eats buns. He's a lying, racist, sexual predator.
Which is him.
That's
needs a lot of buns.
I really hope he's not going to sue, because you said liar quite a lot of times.
Yeah. And if he's watching,
don't worry.
Denying, obviously, there'll be a fake news accusation against you very soon.
Did this renowned mathematician buy his car at drive time using the smartest online tools?
Burning cars and smashed windows. A small group of protesters dressed in black, their faces covered, armed with hammers and bricks. Facing off with thousands of officers on site, many in riot gear, confronting them with flashbang grenades and pepper spray.
All of a sudden, the police officers started to spray pepper spray, and they got our audio technician. They're coming. See us running because they're going to throw more flashbangs.
The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration and parade route.
I personally have anti-establishment slants, but I don't think that this is anything that I want to be a...
This checkpoint is closed!
Before the swearing-in ceremony even began, protesters tried to block checkpoint entrances.
It's closed!
During President Trump's speech, several demonstrators were escorted out of the area. Several officers injured during the protest today, and more than 100 people arrested. Once the inaugural parade began, the newly sworn-in president facing thousands of peaceful protesters amongst his supporters. NBC's Stephanie Gosk was with him all day.
When Donald Trump took the oath of office, the people here sang, "We shall overcome."
Resist from day one!
Similar demonstrations across the country. Arrest outside Trump Tower, New York City. A human chain across San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. From Phoenix to Houston to Chicago, people protesting the country's new president on his first day in office.
Tonight, thousands of protesters remain in downtown D.C., occasionally facing off with police. We have seen many people injured, both protesters and police officers. And tomorrow, D.C. police are preparing for a women's march on Washington. Organizers of that march say they expect a couple 100,000 people. Lester?
Jacob Rascone here in D.C. tonight. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out.
The inauguration of President Trump has again exposed the deep political divisions across the country. Protests began before he took the oath of office and continued throughout the night and into this morning.
You can make it if you try.
to the sky like I'm a dove. I'm in love with this feeling. I'm a down or am I up? I can't frown cause I'm in luck. I got the crowd and that's enough. I'm in love. Come on, rise up to the sky. Come on, rise up, get up and lose your mind. Lose up your feet and fly. Get off the ground tonight. Come on, rise up, jump out of what keeps you down. Get higher, rise up, fly, get your feet off the ground. Come on, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise, 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 rise. I'ma have to smack that my God. I'm blowing paper, ballin', call me later. Ballin', call me later. Ballin', call me later. Hey, our flow is oh so freaky. I roll with it oh so cheeky. Oh please God, no, don't tease me. Just got here, I'm not leaving. Rise up, jump out of what keeps you down. Get higher, rise up, fly, get your feet off the ground. Come on and rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise, 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 rise.
Fender biter. Seen it, covered it. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
It is time for him to go.
Yes, it is. He's 45.
Everybody says to me, what can I do? Wherever you're from, you go home and you volunteer in a campaign office. These districts. You turn this around for our country. It's up to each one of you. We can do this.
Yes. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
So let's go. You're a good chat.
Okay, all right.
You're a chat master.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Stand up, Congress. Stand up, Congress.
I will echo what you're saying. He's not just a good chant master. He's...
All right, folks. Y'all know Donald Trump keeps lying. Y'all know he keeps lying, keeps lying, keeps lying. And he dropped this ad today on social media. We're only going to play 10 seconds of it. because I'm not trying to give this fool all his attention. All right, folks, back to our road mark unfiltered video in just one moment. Hey, folks, if you're looking for a hot new investment opportunity, I have two things I want you to think about: illegal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, you just let that sink in for a second. Our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created a unique opportunity for everyday investors like you to get in the game for a minimum of $300 or $10,000, 50 grand, or even $100,000. You can get in where you want to fit in. Now, typically, it takes millions, if not billions, to invest in illegal investment. Well, I'm going to show you the 10 seconds, then I'm going to come back and show you how he lying. Press play.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please step out of the hallway.
Come on. Right there. Donald Trump straight up lied. Democrats let him into the country. No, it was Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio, his office, who released him. And it was George W. Bush administration who allowed him to come back in. Malik, this is a lying president who keeps wanting to blame illegal immigration on Democrats as if Republicans are not on the local, state, and national level. This is a lying tweet and a lying ad. You ain't got to defend the lie. Really? Just go ahead and say, Roland, you right. Just say, Roland, you right.
So instances like this make it difficult for black conservatives to recruit people to the party. Now, I get what Donald Trump was going. I mean, I can say it's fear-mongering. It's our more heated version of what Claire McCaskill did, considering what we just talked about. And it's unfortunate that Donald Trump is doing this. It's something that people do, unfortunately, in campaigns to win. I wish it were not happening, but unfortunately it is. And just like I can have a problem with what Claire McCaskill did, just like I can have a problem with even some of the things that Candace Owens has done, I can definitely have a problem with this. I can't. It's fear-mongering.
Lie, Monique. Lie, 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 lie.
Right. Well, I mean, he only lies when he breathes. But the point is, the point for conservatives ought to be, and I'm not one, but it's not that they should have a difficult time recruiting. They wouldn't if they just would locate a spine. Because true conservatives, the ones that I used to enjoy sparring against because we disagreed about fiscal policy, we disagreed about gun legislation, we had there's nothing left. I mean, the conservatives are in an identity crisis. And what we need, I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Because there's a Trumpkin party right now. It's not a wing. You know, all of the power right now belongs to Trumpologists. So anyone who used to be, no, it's not at all.
Part of the party belongs.
All you have to do is look back to the Obama. All you have to do is look back to Obama.
We ain't getting away from the subject at hand.
Yeah.
Scott and Greg, he lied his ass off in the tweet. But Scott and Greg.
From education to the environment, business to banking, housing to healthcare, it seems that there is no issue in the world that the industrialized Western democracies cannot reduce to a simplistic paradigm of liberal versus conservative. In fact, this point has been so hardwired into the modern political system that it has been distilled into a childlike shorthand. Political positions are left or right, blue or red. These convenient, color-coded political choices infantilize the political process, making the public little more than spectators at a sporting event, rooting for one team or another, without even having to understand the issues being debated. Nowhere has this process of simplification become so refined as it has in the United States of America, sometimes laughingly referred to as the leaders of the free world.
Our third story tonight, the Republican Party's last hope, urging America to just stay home from school.
Understanding the Democrats, that's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo.
Governing this country with Republicans is like rooming with a meth addict.
It is a fact that every juror on the OJ case was a Democrat. Everybody blames the blacks. Not me. I blame the Democrats.
Well,
This inane lowest common denominator reduction of all political thought has taken its toll on the public. Many are now unable to conceive of what a political movement that is not attached to one or the other ends of this so-called spectrum would look like. Yet, interestingly, This is precisely what has emerged in the past several years, not once, but twice, and not on one side of this left-right divide or the other, but both. In the past 5 years, we have watched the rise of two distinct movements expressing popular outrage at the political status quo in the US. Both movements decried the nexus of power that has developed in the fascistic relationship of big banks and big government. Both movements believed that the bought and paid for politicians have robbed the people of their rights and even their ability to participate in the political process. Both movements believed in mass protest as a way of effecting change in the system. And yet, we are asked to believe that these movements are not only incompatible, but diametrically opposed. According to the corporate press, the Tea Party is a fringe Republican movement that arose out of a desire to move the Republican Party further toward the hard right. Never discussed in mainstream coverage of the group is its actual origins in disgust at the Bush administration's 9/11 cover-up. The first Tea Party event was held in Boston in 2006 and involved throwing copies of the whitewashed 9/11 Commission report into Boston Harbor. The movement took off in 2008 in the wake of the Lehman Brothers collapse and the announcement of trillions of dollars of stimulus being directed into the pockets of the Wall Street banksters and their political cronies. Similarly, the Occupy Wall Street movement motivated scores of Americans to actively protest the financial oligarchy and their growing ensnarement of the political machinery of the US government for their own enrichment. People sick of being asked to tighten their belts while banks continued making record profits, backed up and bailed out by debt that the public is being asked to underwrite, drove people into the streets for mass protests and confrontations with the so-called authorities across the country. At their core, these movements sprang from remarkably similar origins: increasing public frustration with the money power dominating the American political process and the dwindling space for public engagement in that system. It did not take long at all, however, before both movements were spun into the left-right political process, with the Republicans effectively capturing the Tea Party movement and steering much of their base into an officially sanctioned Tea Party Inc. The Democrats, meanwhile, managed to ignore the Occupy Wall Street protests while the political provocateurs and change agents steered it toward cultural irrelevance. Those who have studied history should perhaps not find it surprising that the political outrage that is felt so keenly by people on all sides of the political spectrum should be controlled by spinning them off into partisan politics. Nor should they be surprised to see how effective this technique is. After all, the strategy of keeping the people pitted against each other, instead of against their oppressors, is one of the oldest political stratagems known to human civilization. The phrase divide and conquer is attributed to Julius Caesar and has been used by emperors and would-be tyrants ever since. In the Age of Empires, divide and conquer was used to keep the empire's subjects from rebelling against the emperor. The Romans used it to keep their conquered neighbors competing with each other rather than their foreign occupiers. The British used it to keep their colonies squabbling along religious, ethnic, and sectarian grounds, so that the Queen and the British East India Company could more effectively exploit them. In the age of the nation-state and with the advent of republican democracy, the strategy necessarily took on a different form. The idea of a left and right wing in politics stems from the earliest days of the French Revolution, when the National Assembly divided into supporters of the king on the president's right and supporters of the revolution on his left. The notion of competing parties within the government was quickly transplanted to the American context, where supporters of Alexander Hamilton united under the Federalist Party, causing Thomas Jefferson to form the Democratic-Republican Party. The creation of political parties was greeted with uneasiness by many, including George Washington himself, who warned of the potential for despotism under such a system in his farewell address. The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetrated the most horrid enormities, is itself a frightful despotism. But this leads at length to a more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual, and sooner or later, the chief of some prevailing faction, more able or more fortunate than his competitors, turns this disposition to the purpose of his own elevation, on the ruins of public liberty. Whatever the intentions of the original creators of the Federalist and the Democratic-Republican parties, by the 20th century the American system, supposedly the beacon of democracy for the world, had become hardwired into a two-party duopoly, the Republicans and the Democrats. This was not the result of mere happenstance, but a concerted plan to effect a divide-and-conquer strategy on the population by the moneyed interests that benefit from having the public pitted against each other. The thinking behind this two-party system that was engineered by the banking and financial interests was documented by famed Georgetown historian Carroll Quigley in his landmark work Tragedy and Hope, published in 1966. The argument that the two parties should represent opposed ideals and policies, one perhaps of the right and the other of the left, is a foolish idea, acceptable only to the doctrinaire and academic thinkers. Instead, the two parties should be almost identical, so that the American people can throw the rascals out at any election without leading to any profound or extreme shifts in policy. Late last March, I had the chance to talk to independent news commentator Charlie McGrath of Wide Awake News about this strategy of divide and conquer, and how it functions to keep like-minded people apart on so many issues.
Well, I see it as a damning mechanism that is enslaving humanity. I mean, I see it as you and I were talking before we started the program, probably, in my opinion, the most important thing that I can do, the most important issue facing is the separation in our country. And it isn't just the United States, obviously, it's globally, but the ability to divide and conquer is a time-honored tactic in militaries have used, and it works just as well in a political, social, economic, theological landscape. I mean, and doing this for now 4 years, seeing how polarized people are and how they're indoctrinated into one camp or another, it is how all corruption can grab a foothold and maintain course, is the fact that we fight amongst ourselves rather than look at the people or corporations that brought us here.
The situation would almost be laughable if it were not so tragic. Having been immersed in the left-right facade their entire lives, many have begun to see the world and those around them through that prism. Either someone is on the same side as they are, or they are the enemy. There is no room for nuance, no subtle distinctions to be made, no room for alliance or cooperation on matters of great import. Perhaps most devastatingly, there is now little room for any analysis of the powers behind the political throne, the oligarchical financial interests that could care less whether this or that president has a D or an R next to their name, whether a prime minister is Labour or Conservative, whether an MEP identifies with the left or the right. Deprived of this understanding of the real nature of political power, the public is truly powerless to identify the real problem at the root of today's political crisis, let alone even begin to address it. It is perhaps ironic, then, that at the end of the day, the supposedly serious commentators, analysts, and talking heads that are paraded in front of the public to comment on this system are little more than buffoons and court jesters, keeping the public entertained and distracted, while some of the most insightful political commentators of our day have been the comedians who have been bold enough to expose this system for what it really is.
You don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. These people went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies. There are now 3. It will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties. There are a handful of insurance companies. There are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice. Right. You don't get the real important choice. There's no freedom of choice. That's a great point.
Right. This video is brought to you by the subscribers of BoilingFrogsPost.com. For more information on this and other topics, please go to BoilingFrogsPost.com.
I don't think the government should have this. I believe that you have marketing. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. I don't fight against the right. You shouldn't do that. I'm not. Shut down discussion because they're totalitarian. Totalitarian collectivists, they want to collect everybody and shut them up because they don't believe in freedom of speech. They're pathetic. They're pathetic. Yeah. That's why they try to shut down the discussion. Because their ideas are weak. Weak. Weak ideas. That's right. I'm sorry. Right.
Donald Trump. How can you sit and ask these questions if you don't know about corporate buybacks?
That's all you was ask questions. I'm not supposed to know everything and tell you what I know.
No,
you just said that the economy's doing good. Clearly, it's not.
Yeah, we're waiting for people to get out. Okay.
You're trash! Anyone who believes in this garbage administration is trash!
Get tired of the leadership in the Democratic Party pandering and race baiting and trying to make us feel bad for being American freedom loving and to believe in the Constitution and to believe in God. We're not going to stand down anymore, especially.
Hi, I'm Craig, and this is Crash Course Government and Politics, and today we're going to finish up our discussion of the First Amendment, finally, by talking about everybody's favorite, the press. The First Amendment is pretty clear that Congress can't make any laws abridging the freedom of the press, and since you understand the basics of free speech, because you were paying attention, the reasons for this should make a lot of sense. But as with any discussion of the First Amendment, things aren't as straightforward as we might think, and the freedom of the press, just like the freedom of speech, is not absolute. The main thing to know about the First Amendment and the press is that it prevents the government from censoring the press. For the most part, this means preventing the press from publishing some information in the first place, although it can also mean punishing a news agency after they publish something. Let's deal with pre-publication freedom of the press first. Let's go to the thought bubble. Censorship of the press before a story is published in print, broadcast, on television, radio, or the internet is called prior restraint, and the Supreme Court ruled that it was not allowed in a case called Neer versus Minnesota. In that case, a newspaper called the Saturday Press was going to publish a story that the city of Minneapolis was under the secret control of a cadre of Jewish gangsters, in particular the mayor and chief of police. City officials obtained an injunction to stop the publication of the story, and they gave the Saturday Press editors the opportunity to go before a judge to prove that the story was true. I'll get to this question of truth in a minute. The judge ordered the injunction and said that if the newspaper violated it, they would be punished for contempt of court. Instead, the newspaper countersued, claiming that Minneapolis and Minnesota were violating their freedom of the press. The Supreme Court agreed that no government was allowed to censor the press because a free press is essential for the political system to work. They based their decision on a lot of history, including Blackstone, the British legal authority, which explained, "The liberty of the press is indeed essential to the nature of a free state, but this consists in laying no previous restraints upon publications, and not in freedom from censure from criminal matter when published." And they also relied on an important American authority on the Constitution, James Madison. Heard of him? Who derived a lot of his constitutional expertise from the fact that he wrote the thing. He said, "This security of the freedom of the press requires that it should be exempt not only from previous restraint by the executive as in Great Britain, but from legislative restraint also. Citizens need a free press to be able to criticize the government and to expose government wrongdoing, because otherwise the government can get away with all sorts of things that we don't want it to, like, say, spying on us and reading our email, and reading our spies' email. Of course, even with a free press, the government can do this, and what constitutes the press in the age of the internet is a debatable question. WikiLeaks, anyone? But the basic proposition that the press must be able to protect us against an overreaching government still stands. Thanks, Thought Bubble. There's another reason why the court put the kibosh on prior restraint, and that's because if a newspaper prints something that is untrue about the government, or more practically about a government official, there's a remedy for this. The person or agency about whom the untrue thing was said or written and published can sue the publisher for libel, and if he proves his case, can get monetary damages. This is supposed to prevent newspapers from flat-out lying about public officials. But libel suits can cause another problem in that they can basically end up being after-the-fact censorship. If a newspaper is so afraid of a libel suit that it decides not to publish a story, then it effectively censors itself. Sometimes courts call this a chilling effect, and it applies to speech that people are afraid to make because of potential lawsuit or other punishment, as well as articles and news stories that go unpublished out of fear of potential punishment. I tell you what, I ain't afraid of punishment for that. I do what I want. Freedom of speech. Luckily for us, the court dealt with the libel issue in another landmark case, New York Times versus Sullivan from 1964. This case involved an advertisement in the Times that included some inaccurate statements about the way Alabama law enforcement was treating civil rights protesters, including Martin Luther King Jr. The Montgomery Public Safety Commissioner L.B. Sullivan thought these misstatements amounted to libel and sued the Times. He lost at the Supreme Court, and they ruled that the standard for libel of a public figure was actual malice. which was my nickname in high school. This means that in order to win a libel case, you must prove that the publisher of the libelous statement knew that the statement was false and acted with reckless disregard, my friend's nickname in high school, for the truth. This is an almost impossible standard to prove, and what it means is that public figures almost never win libel cases. This goes a long way toward explaining some of the outlandish things you read about politicians and celebrities in print, and I'm not even going to begin to talk about some of what you can find on the internet, like a bearded dude talking about government and punching eagles. Some argue that we shouldn't feel too bad about celebrities, and we should remember that they are celebrities and are usually doing all right for themselves. Unflattering publicity might simply be considered the price of fame. I'd point out that celebrities are human too, except for Lil Bub, the only non-human celebrity, and probably don't like being libeled. I guess Jar Jar Binks is another non-human celebrity, and he gets a lot of bad press. But he truly is terrible, so it's not libel. So it sounds like the First Amendment protection of a free press is pretty much absolute, but there are always exceptions that make things complicated. One of these exceptions is the question of national security. There are some security issues that are so important the government is allowed to censor the press before they can print stories about them. The best example of this is that the government can prevent the press from printing detailed descriptions of troop movements during a war, because this would help the enemy and put soldiers' lives at risk. It's kind of like in those spy movies when the bad guys learn all the names and aliases of the secret agents, except it's real. Knowing this, most newspapers wouldn't print this sort of thing, at least while it's happening. But what about after the fact? Well, it gets complicated, but another Supreme Court case gives us some guidance about what to expect. In New York Times versus U.S., why is it always New York Times? The issue was whether or not the Times could publish the Pentagon Papers. These were secret documents stolen from the government by Daniel Ellsberg, who had worked at the Defense Department. They showed that much of the government's reasoning behind the Vietnam War was untrue, or at least highly questionable. I'm going to go with untrue. The government tried to stop the Times and the Washington Post, too, from publishing these papers because it would make the government look bad and perhaps turn public opinion against the war. Now, this was 1971, and a good deal of public opinion was kind of already against the war, so much so that Lyndon Johnson had decided not to run for re-election just a few years before in 1968. But the government said that publication of this classified report would cause irreparable harm to America's ability to defend itself, and they tried to stop the publication. The court ruled against this prior restraint, further strengthening the First Amendment protection of the free press. It also slapped down the executive branch, which was trying to claim its privilege to keep state secrets. But we already mentioned this when talking about Nixon and his attempts to hold on to the Watergate tapes. Anyway, as you can see, the First Amendment offers a lot of protections to citizens in the press, especially when they're criticizing the government or its policies, or even when they're making fun of celebrities. And this is really, really important because American democracy relies on its citizens having enough information to make good decisions and hold elected officials accountable. We rely on the press to tell us what the government is doing so that we can decide whether or not we want to let them keep doing it. If the government can keep us from getting important or even not so important information by censoring the press or by preventing us from speaking out against what we see as wrong, it will be able to keep doing things that might be bad. And this is the kind of tyranny that the framers of the Bill of Rights were most worried about. So the more you're concerned about tyranny, the freer you want speech in the press to be. This is something to think about when you engage in arguments about Edward Snowden and his NSA disclosures or Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Crash Course Government and Politics is produced in a
What? Watching nigga owns money, dead hammers. Got the tree suffer, too many wood cutter. Each and every one is killing up the earth mother. I should even entertain a scene. Humanity, insanity machine. I'm if did that's the last day's dream. Ration the rich and pass the back on to me. Like a duck under the water. When they go where we are, pretend we're getting tougher. Feeling that we got this covered, but the rights are giving up. Give them to the new order. Too many men are not taking that seat and them brothers. Oh, why won't you see for yourself? Ah, nah, nah, nah. Why won't you see for yourself? We call them sick of the lies and them, sick of the war and them, sick of the lies and them, sick of the woe, sick of the lies and them, sick of the war and them, sick of the lies and them, sick of the woe, sick of the lies and them, sick of the war and them, sick of the lies and them, sick of the woe, sick of the lies and them, sick of the war and them, sick of the lies and them, sick of the watch shot. Would it have to come abortion and my knees underwater? Time is on the minimum, come back and repart to be in pause. When I'm in, we got money in the tin, but the president acting like a totalitarian. Some they thinking I'm meta, but if they can't talk any better. Some they think the phenomenon is giving us silver platter. What you seek to gain is what you can afford. When I'm sick of the lies and I'm sick of the war. There's a young man in an old cafe, rising this topic up. He says I'm holding on to yesterday until I be the man I world someday. Oh, oh, until I be the world someday. Here. Just let your mind fall away. It doesn't matter what the haters say. Forget the menace to be this way. Forget the menace to be a slave. Follow your heart and say what you're saying. It's all around, so why are we waiting? Come on, people, now we better start celebrating. People all around, we better start celebrating. Come on, everybody, we better start celebrating. People all around, we better start celebrating. Come on, everybody, come on, everybody, come on, everybody, come on, everybody now. People all around, we better start celebrating. Come on, everybody, come on, everybody, come on, everybody, come on, everybody now. People all around me better stop celebrating. Give mind is not okay then to do some meditating. A bit of another way into it. Communicating with that from a better cause the community is fading. I can see that we need intelligence operating. We better commit the D and the rest of the 18. We need true intentions and not just faking. We got no time now for stalling or procrastinating. Sick of the lies, sick of the war, sick of the lies, sick of the woe, sick of the lies and them, sick of the war and them, sick of the lies and them, sick of the woe, sick of the lies and them, sick of the war and them, sick of the lies and them, sick of the woe, sick of the lies and them, sick of the war and them,